In a world of remakes and remasters,
Are we playing your
what was once sacred and cool has now soured and become lame.
Red?
Gone are the days of Pods and Cowabunga. Now is the reign of slurp juice and dabs. Kids these days don't even know how bad they've got it. Now it's up to the best generation to rise to the occasion and make a show that dares to go where a lot of other nerdy shows have already gone quite a bit. That's right. They're going to talk about it a lot.
Oh, yes, your sword is so big.
David. We're live.
Hello.
We're-
Didn't see you there.
Oh, gosh. Welcome back to the show, everybody. The show. This is the show Best Gen. I'm sorry for what you had to see there. We'll talk after the show, David.
No apologies.
I have that same one.
Yeah?
Oh no.
I do.
Welcome to the show. The show. This is the show Best Gen, where nerds complain about nerdy things. The show's called Best Gen because we all happen to be from the same gen and happen to think that it's the best. But we're very loving and accepting of people of all ages. It doesn't really matter when you're born, as long as you've heard of a Zune.
Yes.
You can watch the show.
Zune
Did
was
anybody else
far
have a
superior.
Zune?
Far superior to the iPod.
It was way better. iPods were trash. It was all about the Zune. It was Microsoft's MP3 player. They did not get popular, but if you use them, they were way better. You didn't have to do this for 10 minutes to find a song. How dumb was that? We're unique and we're special. It was a really bad interface, right?
It was like a sensory explosion for me.
It was
loved
horrible.
It was like the sound.
Yeah,
But I only
felt
had
cool.
200 songs.
Okay, so I have
So it's not like
200.
it took that long.
I have 200 artists, so it's a little different. Well, way more than that.
I have more now.
Yeah.
It was, but come on, the practicality of that's insane, right?
It was silly.
It's silly. It felt cool, the little, it felt cool. I'll give it that.
Yeah.
But
It was
Zunes,
new. Anything new was cool.
Zunes were cooler. I was a Zune boy. I appreciated that joke in Guardians of the Galaxy 2. Or was it 1? It was 2. Welcome to the show.
It was too.
This is a special episode. It's a Tolkien celebration. All things Lord of the Rings and Silmarillion and the
Etc.
Encyclopedia of Middle Earth that I've not read. But we thought it would be fun to just talk about how great it is the week before Rings of Power comes out, and it's all ruined.
Crushes our hearts and our souls.
And
Yes.
we have a woman on the show.
Yay!
So you can't call me sexist anymore. I get we've had women on the show before, but sisters and wives don't count, David. So we're joined
Yes.
by Liz, who's right outside my house.
Yeah,
I didn't want to let her in. I'm reporting from Bag End.
I'm only here because I'm a stalker.
Yeah, she's been watching the YouTube channel and knocking on the door, and I have not let her in.
Yeah,
But
I'm hiding in the
welcome.
bushes with Lobelia Sackville Baggins.
You want to introduce yourself, Liz?
Yeah, I'm Liz Stone King. I live in Arkansas, and I am a huge nerd. I love
Yay for nerds.
Lord of the Rings and Tolkien. And as a teenager, I had movie posters all over my wall, and I would read Lord of the Rings all the time. And I would regularly look at the appendixes to find out the names of everyone's children at the end of their stories, because I was...
You are such a nerd.
Yeah, like big time. I would come into my parents' room because my dad read Lord of the Rings in like the 70s. And so I would come in and I would talk to my dad about it. And I was like, Dad, did you know that Pippin named his son Faramir? What an honor.
That's so weird. I love it though. But you know that Rings of Power is not your dad's Lord of the Rings, right? That's what they said.
It's not even my Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
Why would that be how you advertise the show?
Probably to stress people out, because they think that Zoomers are only attracted to things that offend Boomers. And like the Boomers don't. But here's the thing: the Boomers don't care. The Gen Xers and the Millennials care, because we were the ones obsessing over the movies.
Yeah.
We kind of got overlooked because they assume that we're just as out there as these little baby Gen Zers, and we're not. We love Peter Jackson. Like, we love him.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to talk about how much we love him today. I've got a lot of fun things to talk about. We're going to talk about Lord of the Rings, and I think we'll talk about She-Hulk episode 2 at the end, because Liz hasn't seen it yet.
I haven't.
But we also have a couple bad takes to do, so it's going to be a fun night. Let's just talk about Lord of the Rings for a second. I love Lord of the Rings. It's great. And it's fun to be able to talk about it on a show like this.
Yeah. So we've talked a lot about where's my Hobbit background? Yes. I was slacking. We've talked a lot about Lord of the Rings on the show before, and all of that is true. Lord of the Rings redefined, not redefined. Lord of the Rings defined modern fantasy. That was
it redefined fantasy into modern fantasy. Yeah,
right. But
Definitely.
everything that we get from Dungeons and Dragons to generic fantasy to other stories. We talked about how Harry Potter was derivative of Lord of the Rings. It established so many iconic characters and storylines and the hero's journey that has been copied so many times.
That short went live this week, actually.
Yes, that was a short from one of our
J.K.
shows.
Rowling steal from Lord of the Rings. Yes, everyone did, because
Every fantasy author today can't claim that they don't get inspiration from Tolkien. It's a lie.
Well, they're trying to. They're saying Tolkien's not relatable unless everyone has the same skin tone color as. It's silly. It's the best-selling book of all time. People related to it. So.
Yeah.
Yeah. So. Yeah. So I have never read the books all the way through. I know, shame. I started reading the
It's
Lord of the
not
Rings.
easy.
It's not easy. Yeah, see, now I've been demoted. I started reading The Lord of the Rings as a kid, and it was just too meaty for me. I was I'm still a really slow reader, so I never got through
definitely understand being turned off of the books as a kid.
Yeah, but I did read The Hobbit several times, and I've watched the movies so many times. And then later in my life, I rented the audiobook for Lord of the Rings, and I got halfway through it, and then I had to return it. So I've never finished it, but I'm going to one of these days.
The audiobook's really good. Like it has
audiobook
good
is
readers.
so good, yeah. But
it's worth buying.
Yes,
for
but
sure.
I've watched the movie so many times, both the regular editions, and then I discovered the extended editions, and it's just so much better. My son is in the other room right now finishing Return of the King.
Yeah, I was at your house yesterday because we went to a wedding.
Yeah,
and your son was. It could not have been comfortable. He was sitting on a stool in your kitchen, watching the Fellowship of the Rings on a tiny TV, like a hunchback, because you guys were using the TV for something, and he wanted to watch Lord of the Rings. It was adorable.
Yeah,
it was actually really funny. It was the scene at Weathertop, and it just ended, and he's like, those hobbits did pretty good for just being hobbits. I'm like, yeah, they did.
Yeah, man.
No, but the other day he schooled me on a scene in Lord of the Rings. He was like, he was playing with these same action figures, and he was like recreating a scene. I'm like, wow, that scene is just in the extended edition. Good job. And he's like, no, that's in the regular version. And he went to the spot in the video and proved me wrong. It's like, I swore that scene was just in the extended versions.
We all know it's not super hard.
Always just watch the extended versions.
Yeah. It's so good. But yeah, he's recently discovered.
We didn't have the extended versions growing up, but as soon I very quickly realized after moving out that that's the way to go. Yeah,
we had seen Fellowship at a friend of ours' house. We saw the extended version there, and I remember seeing the trolls as they're traveling. From the Hobbit as they're going. I remember that extended scene. Like, oh, that's so cool. That's not the original version, but the extended versions are so good.
How do you guys introduce extended versions to like Middle Earth muggles?
Well,
it's easy.
I have to tell them to watch it in 45-minute increments, or I lose them.
So what I do is, do you like the movies? And the answer is pretty much yes. And I say, wouldn't it be great if there was more of them?
More of it?
Because there, no. But seriously, though, I think the best way to introduce the extended edition, it's a commitment. It's if you watch all three of them, it's like 12 hours, right? And I think it adds 5 hours to the theatrical cuts, right? If all three of them together, I think it's about 5 hours of extra stuff.
All three together, yeah, probably.
I mean, because the theatrical versions alone are long. I think
you're
the best
in the movie theater for a long time.
The best way to do it is to do it through the Return of the King.
Yes.
Because that is that out of the, obviously I prefer the extended editions to all three, but the Return of the King is the only one that's necessary because you don't know what happens to Saruman.
I was so confused about what happened to Sauron. I assumed that he drowned in the Ent attack or something.
And it's literally the first scene. Yeah. So you can trick them actually into watching the extended editions if you're watching all three, and then you stick in Return of the King, and they're like, "Wait, I don't remember this. This is what happens to Saruman," and you're like, "Yeah, you big dummy. You should have been watching extended editions."
See, that part made me a little frustrated when I first watched it because by the time Return of the King came out, I had finished Lord of the Rings. And Saruman doesn't die there. He shows up in the Shire, and the hobbits literally kick his trash.
Yes. It is a change from the books. But
it is a change from the books. And the only thing that I was upset about was that I had this weird obsession with Bill the Pony.
Yeah.
So it was really upset that Bill the Pony comes back to the Shire to find Sam.
Yeah.
And then saves his life by kicking orcs.
Yeah.
And I thought that was the most amazing thing ever when I read the book. And then I was like, I can't believe I didn't add Bill. And then with my adult brain, I was like, how would they do that?
Yeah. In the adaptation, it 100% makes sense to remove the Scourging of the Shire. Because there already are like 8 different endings, right? That's the big joke. There's so many endings to the Return of the King, which I think is a silly argument because they're all very necessary. So I think there's just one ending, and it's the end. But to have to tack on the Shire bit 100% makes sense in the books, but for the movies, especially since they broadened the scope and focused on more characters than just the hobbits and their story arc, it really made sense to take that part out. And so I like what they did. I like how they kill Saruman in the movie, because even though it is a change, they did pay homage to how it is done in the books, with him being betrayed by Wormtongue. I always get confused when because of Harry Potter with Wormtongue and Wormtail, but
that's like the biggest steal that she had. It's like she didn't even try.
Yep.
It's like the exact. It's
the same character too. It's not just the same name. It's the same character. It's the slimy, backstabbing, whisper in your ear sycophant.
Yes. It's the same person. She was just like, oh, I'm really tired. I'm just no one's gonna remember this, right?
Yeah.
She did write it before the movies came out, so maybe she just figured no one would make the connection.
But I think that leads into the question that I wanted to ask, which is the books versus the movies. What do you prefer, or which one's better?
That's so hard to answer.
Right, it's a hard answer.
On the one hand,
it's two different things. It's two different things. What's better and what do you prefer? Those are two different answers.
Yeah. Well, I like the accessibility of the films.
Yes, they're very accessible.
I like how well they brought the visuals to life and how immersive it is.
Yes.
But the books are amazing, and it's blasphemy for me to say that the movies are better. So I can't do it.
I'll say it. If I'm looking for like a personal experience, I actually prefer watching the movies. Because of the emotion, right? There's not a whole lot of emotion in the books. It's kind of like a textbook. It goes through it tells you what happens, and that was something they accomplished really well in the adaptation, was the added emotion to each scene. And the accessibility. It's a lot easier to make someone watch a movie than it is to make them read the Lord of the Rings. Especially here the biggest problem is the Fellowship of the Rings. Start the opening. What's the opening chapter, Liz?
The opening chapter?
Yes. What's the first thing you get to when you open up the Fellowship of the Rings? The first chapter is an excerpt from an in-world textbook on hobbits.
Oh, yeah.
Why would you? That's not how you open a book, Tolkien. I love you, Tolkien, but that is a quick way to turn people off. I'm glad that it's there because it is fascinating.
His Cambridge brain thinks that that's the hook. It's because this is what everyone's gonna love this because Cambridge, because scholars because I'm a philologist and everyone needs to know the origin of everything because that's
he also needed to connect it to the Hobbit, which came out first. So he needed to give a little. This was the Hobbit, and this is a different story. But like, it's not a great start. I love that it's there, and and it's fascinating. But I like it better. I almost would have liked it better if it was at the end of to get here's a history of hobbits. It's like an ancillary thing, but it's easy to get turned off.
Even in the book The Hobbit, he starts with a little bit of history.
Yeah,
and it's awesome when you're a history nerd and you're like, ooh, this is cool. These fictional characters have a vast background.
Yeah. But
like, for laymen going into it, it's not a hook.
And the other downside, I think, to at least the first book is that well, there's two actually. The movie did a good job of speeding things up. Right, in the book, he gets the ring, and then waits like
on the road.
80 years. Right, he just stays at home.
I think it's like 50 to 60 years.
Yeah, it's like a big chunk. He's like, oh, I got the ring, and then Gandalf goes off to figure out what the ring is. It comes back like 80 years later, and then the adventure starts. It's a really slow start. At first, you don't even realize that they are in danger until you get to like Tom Bombadil, and after they leave his protection, and then you're like, oh no, we're being chased. And so it starts off really slow, and the movie did a fantastic job of giving that more weight.
It had definitely had a stronger
forcing them out of the Shire rather than them eventually deciding to leave.
Yeah.
But the other thing.
Just read Martina's comments.
It's secret and safe for a
long time. Yeah. The other thing is the way that the story is structured in the book. It's told linearly. It follows the hobbits and doesn't leave them until they get to Rivendell. And in the movies, you're jumping back and forth between them and Gandalf. And in the books, they get to Rivendell, and Gandalf is there, and they're like, yo, what's up, Gandalf? You were supposed to meet us. What happened to you? And then Gandalf tells them his story. Well, let me tell you, I was in danger for a really long time, but you already know that I'm alive because I'm here. And it's not as effective. And in the movies, like there's more weight, there's more tension.
You understand what the delay was.
Exactly. So I didn't love the way that the story was structured in the Fellowship of the Ring. That being said, for the second book, it's structured the same way, and it makes it better. The Two Towers I prefer the book to the movie. It's fantastic.
It's so rich.
Because you don't know what's happening to the other characters the whole time until you get to them. It's brilliant how it's structured. And it didn't work at all in the Fellowship, but it made it better for the Two Towers.
Yeah.
Also,
well, that separation created more of a sense of urgency.
Exactly. It was wonderful. And you still got to eventually hear everyone's story, but it was one at a time. We're following this, and then we get here, and then we're going to hear this story, and then it was brilliant how it was structured. Also, Faramir is so much better in the books.
Faramir is incredible in the books.
I love him. I love him in the movies. He's already my favorite character in the movies. And then I read the books and I was like, what? Like, like, why is this not in the movie?
So cool.
I will say that before I watched the extended editions, I didn't really like Faramir all that much either. I thought, okay, his whole thing is he meets the hobbits and he lets Frodo go. but knowing
he's
the
more
whole
selfish than
backstory
the movie.
with him and Boromir and his father and their relationship that's presented in the extended editions, it's so much better. It's like, holy crap, Faramir is awesome.
In the books, he tricks him into getting information out of him.
Yeah.
He's talking to Sam, literally manipulates Sam into telling him what they're carrying, and it's brilliant. And then once he gets the information, you're like, oh no, is he going to take it? And he's like, I just wanted to know. You guys can go. And I'm like it's
He does
so
not give them to us
so
feeling
good.
it in the book.
He doesn't even consider taking the ring. He's like, I know my father would want me to do it, and I know that would be wrong.
Yeah.
And he warns them. He says, I think that Gollum is leading you into a trap, and I don't think that you should go up the path that you're going because there's an ancient evil there. And they're like, but we don't have any other choice. And he's like, well, it saddens me, and I hope, he's like, I hope you live, basically. And he just lets him go.
Basically,
and he could have.
I hope you guys are okay because I can't go.
Oh, it's
but like the ring wasn't really even much of a temptation to him because he is so familiar with what evil looks like and with wanting to avoid it that when it's right in front of him and it's like, ooh, you're gonna be daddy's favorite now. He's like, no, I won't. Get away from me. Yeah. He's not interested, and he's so flippin' valiant, and Eowyn is so heckin' lucky.
Yes. She gets the best boy. So
Eowyn gets best boy.
Screw Aragorn, man. Like, what was I going to say? Oh yeah, the one of my favorite lines from the movies is when he's confronted with the ring, and he says like, "It's time for the son of Gondor to test his qualities" or something like that. I can't remember the line now. But it's similar to what he says in the books, but it's like a completely different context. He's like, "Oh, now would be the time that I could prove myself to my dad, and that's not something I want."
Yeah,
like,
his dad sucks.
Okay.
He really does, yeah.
Best scene in all of the movies, though, is the cherry tomato scene, right?
Oh,
Hands down.
The cherry tomato takes me to a bad place.
You wish that I had died in his stead. Yes, I wish it. It's so good.
It is. It's very disgusting, but it's good.
Nasty. Trauma.
Yeah.
No.
So yeah, I prefer the movies to the books as a personal experience, but I think they both complement each other. Like reading the books made me like the movies even more, and watching the movies made me appreciate the books even more. Yeah. There are tons of Easter eggs in the films that just go by like wordlessly, and they're not there to be like, hey, look at this, hey, look at this. It's just tiny bits of world building that they didn't need to put in at all, but are just like nods to like, hey, we respect the lore. I think my favorite example is in the Fellowship of the Ring when Frodo gets stabbed by the
Morgul blade.
Morgul blade
by the Witch King's blade. So that the blade is supposed to eventually turn you into a wraith by basically like phasing your physical body into the spiritual, the spirit realm. I can't remember what Tolkien calls the spirit place.
But honestly, I think he flips back and forth between what it is and what it's called anyways, because
I think it's called like the fate. I think it's called the fate or something like that. But basically it slowly turns you into a ghost guy. And because he's stabbed by the blade, he starts, just like when he puts onto the ring, he starts seeing into the spiritual plane. And that's why when Arwen shows up, when he first sees her, she's getting off her horse, and it's from Frodo's perspective, and she's glowing. It's literally because he's seeing into the spiritual plane.
Yeah.
It adds nothing to the movie. They don't mention it. They don't talk about it. Don't reference it at all. It's literally just a nod to how that blade is explained in the books. In the books, it's explaining what's happening to Frodo. Oh, he's slowly phasing away, and that's just a visual example of that they couldn't fit into the movie.
I mean, it also is a little bit of an excuse for Peter Jackson to immediately show off how beautiful Liv Tyler is.
Yeah.
like immediately, because in the books she's not there.
Yes.
Elrond makes the horsey waterfall.
Yeah, she takes over 2 other characters actually, which I was fine with. There are a lot of characters.
There's so few women in the Tolkien world, especially in Lord of the Rings specifically, that they just needed more of it. That was understandable.
Even with her extended role in the movies, she's still barely part of the story.
Yeah,
she's mostly in the first one.
In the books, she literally just shows up at the end to marry Aragorn. Like that. That's it. She's
pretty much.
I think they mention her. I think they mention her name like twice before then, but she just shows up to get married.
She's not mentioned a lot, and it's usually just to compare her to Luthien.
Yeah. Yes.
Which is like Tolkien's special word for a character that he made specifically to be his wife.
Yeah.
Like 100% based off his wife. It's on her gravestone.
Yeah, that was that Tom Bombadil's wife or the other elf?
Goldberry is Tom Bombadil's wife. Right. And there are a series of poems that Tolkien wrote outside of Lord of the Rings about Tom Bombadil and Goldberry, if you want to go deep nerd.
Tom Bombadil wasn't initially supposed to be part of Middle Earth, right? He wrote stuff for him and then decided to put him in.
Tom Bombadil was like this little character that Tolkien. It was like a favorite pet that he had, and he didn't know where to. And I don't think he just knew where to put him. Yeah, and it was just like, I'll put him in the
okay. So Tom Bombadil in the movies, a lot of people were upset. Was it a good choice to take him out or not?
It was good.
It was 100% the right choice to take him out of the movie.
I'm ashamed to say it because I was really upset as a teenager because I thought Tom Bombadil was like really funny and interesting. But again, adult eyes watching Lord of the Rings would be like, how would you fit him in there?
I think he totally works in the books. Yeah. I don't think it was a mistake to put him in the books at all. I think it works. It was a slower, it could be, and the way that the first book works, it's kind of a slow burn. It starts off as like, oh, hey, we need to go bring this ring somewhere. And then you slowly find out that they're being followed by ring wraiths. But Tom Bombadil is kind of like the point where the novel kind of shifts into more of the danger after they leave his presence and they get attacked by the Barrow Whites.
The Barrow Whites?
Is that what they're called? It's been a while.
Yes.
The things that make it, they fall asleep and then they wake up naked. And Tom Bombadil saves them by singing, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I think the Barrow Whites. I gotta Google it now.
It's been so long. I used to read it when I was a teenager.
I was right.
I'm not.
Barrow White. Oh. I thought it worked fine in the books. It was like a nice little shift from, hey, everything's great, and now we're back in danger now.
But they also
it
hang
never
out.
would have worked in the movies.
Yeah. They also hang out at Tom Bombadil's house for quite a while.
Yeah,
well
time moves differently in his forest.
Yeah.
So, very, very strange character. But
although they probably could have put the Barrow Whites in and have like Aragorn save them or something.
The Barrow Whites would have been cool to add.
It would have been cool.
I feel like
it would have detracted. It would have detracted from the ring wraiths chasing them, though.
It would have.
So I get it, but like it would have been cool.
They somehow made up for it with the Willow. What was it? The Willow. Nope, can't think of it. Nope.
Can't help you.
It was in was it Two Towers or
in the Dead Marshes.
Return of the King, not in the Dead Marshes. It was Pippin and Sam when they're drinking that elixir that made them taller.
Yeah.
There was also those creeping tree
things.
I can't think of the word. Tree stems? Tree roots. Roots!
This is no, it's not the Ents.
It wasn't the ends. It's when they were pulled in by those roots.
Oh, in the movie. Right. I remember that. Okay.
Yeah, because I remember that very I remember
Oh,
that.
yeah, okay. That is kind of a nod to the Barrow Whites then.
That it felt like they were like making that sort of connection where
no, the Ent comes and saves them from it, actually, in the book, but yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, Treebeard is a busy guy for an Ent.
Yes, he is.
He gets a lot done. I should have brought it with me. I have a Treebeard that's like this big.
Oh, nice.
And he's my bestie. I love him.
Awesome.
Wasn't that an evil Ent who'd gone evil? I don't remember how they explain it in the movie.
I don't either.
But I don't think I ever realized that before, but it is, now that I think about it, it is a pretty clear homage to what happened with the Barrow Whites. They were like burrowed under.
Yeah, because they were, sucked into the ground sort of situation. Not really sucked in all the way, but it was like being drawn in, being pulled under, which is a really, really common Fae European folklore tribute that Tolkien liked to reference, because that's what Middle Earth is. It's like this culmination of European stories that he sort of squished together into its own lore.
So talking about changes from the books to the movies, in your opinion, what do you think is the best change and what do you think is the worst change?
The best change is probably the beginning that you see in the first movie, where they don't have that long span of time that we were talking about earlier.
I 100% agree. Yeah,
that made a huge difference. The worst change is probably that the movies needed more time before they ended so that I could recover.
I think my biggest complaint is that it's not all the time, but sometimes Legolas's fighting is too cartoony. Yeah, it's a little like because I believe I believe that was a Peter Jackson change that the elves weighed less when he was walking on the snow. I don't remember that being in the books at all. Maybe it was in appendices or in the Silmarillion, but I never remember that being mentioned in the books, that they physically weighed less.
They mentioned that they're light-footed, but
but that means something different,
way less.
Right?
And
that means that they're dexterous.
Yeah.
So I didn't mind that. I thought it was an interesting kind of world building, especially the scene where they're trudging through the snow and Legolas is just hopping along. I thought it added to his character, but I thought sometimes the fighting got too cartoony.
Yeah,
I could see
just
that.
With his character.
My big issue is I wished it had smoother transitions in the last 40 minutes to an hour of Return of the King, because you have those long blackouts where you switch from one scene to another, and I remember being in the movie theater and people in the movie theater would be like, that's the end, it's over, and then it's another scene. They're like, is it over now? And then it's another scene. So like it could have been a smoother transition.
Yeah, I don't know how they could have done that differently though, because they are skipping a lot of stuff from, like, they're skipping the Scouring of the Shire. It's Scouring, not Scourging, right? The Scouring of the Shire, I believe. I think it's scouring.
Not sure.
I just realized I was saying it wrong. I think so.
I feel like it's one of those things that I've only seen written down and that I've never like heard someone say out loud.
See, the transitions though, is that really a change from the book? Because I mean, Tolkien writes like a textbook, and that's kind of how the books go too. He kind of just says this happened, and then this happened, and then this happened, and that's the end. So I don't think that that's a change from the books, but I do agree that maybe it could have been done better. I just don't know how.
Well, you just needed to squish them together. Because it's too long. It was too long of a pause. It's not like it takes a long time for you to flip a page.
Yeah.
I agree with you 100%, Liz. And it's not just at the very end epilogue. There's a couple of those transitions that just fades to black, and there's like a solid couple seconds. And it does, the music swells.
David, that's when you have to switch DVDs, David.
Yeah.
You're so dumb.
This isn't floppy disks.
No, even the Blu-rays, you have to switch them because there's not enough space.
Yeah. There's not enough space for that amount of epic.
For a 6-hour movie.
That's a good point. Those fade to black transitions that are extra long when we watch them on streaming, that might be the point where you have to switch DVDs in the physical copy.
Well, if you're just joining us in the chat, I've noticed some people have joined the stream. We are those are the credits.
Those are the credits. Yeah.
Freaking idiot. I want to know what you think are from adaptation to books to Peter Jackson films. What were the best changes they made, and what were the worst? Because for the most part, there were obviously a lot of changes, but and that's the case with any adaptation, right? When you're changing medium, there are things that work in books that don't work in movies, and there are things that work in movies that don't work in books. Like you can't do internal dialogue. That's why Ender's Game is like impossible to adapt, because half of the book takes place inside of his head.
Yeah, tell that to the first.
And playing video games so long in the book.
Yeah.
That is a lot of time talking about a kid playing video game.
Yeah. But it works in the book because he's playing the game and then connecting it to his life and like thinking about philosophy and stuff. And so, but you can't do that in a movie. So when you're changing mediums, there are obviously changes that you have to make. And the way to do it well is to focus on the spirit of the source material and only change things like change to the medium. So for the most part, there are a lot of changes from the books to the movies, and I think that most of them are to service the change in medium. Like for example, like we already talked about, the changes to the Fellowship of the Ring are because you can't pause for 80 years in a movie. You have to speed the plot along. You only have 3 hours, or Peter Jackson somehow got away with making 5-hour movies. So, but normally, you only have 2 hours to tell this kind of story. So when you sacrifice characters like Tom Bombadil and the Barrow Wights, it's because you have to streamline the story. But even though you are making that change, you can still see that the spirit of Tolkien is there. He's still trying to tell Tolkien's story, but just do it more concisely. And that's the big difference with what the changes that we're seeing in the Rings of Power. They're making changes so that they can insert their politics and so that they can make characters more diverse. And they're making changes because they think they can make Tolkien better, not because they have to change the medium.
Right.
And that's why a lot of people. Sorry, one more thing. A lot of people complained about the Arwen changes because she's basically not in the books. And while I agree, the characters that they had to sacrifice, it sucks because they were cool characters. I did not mind the Arwen change because I think she absorbed 2 other elven characters with the things that she did. It really helped speed the plot along. And it also helped it helped you know who Arwen is when she shows up at the end to marry Aragorn.
Yeah. And also it was a form of representation. There weren't enough women in Lord of the Rings. Just because that was just what was happening in literature at the time in general. And so bringing it into a more modern century, even though this is like a long time ago, like 20 plus years ago, that was their way of adding their modernization of it, is to have more women involved in it.
Mm-hmm.
That's true,
and you can modernize things in a way that doesn't take away the spirit, and I think that it was done really well in the films.
Well, the thing is that representation can't replace quality.
Exactly.
Yes.
Because then what are you representing? Like, why would you want to have representation in something that does not have very high quality to begin with?
And it looks like the comments are all agreeing with me, which is typical because I'm always right. Hurry down the Barrow Downs. Tom Bombadil wasn't needed for the story. Love his character. Doesn't make sense in a movie. Trimming out the years before Frodo lived, definitely a good change. Just thanks for agreeing with me. Martina says, I would prefer fewer, more awesome female characters rather than lots of random women that you don't see very much on screen.
Yeah, that's a good point. But going back to that, I think you're right. Having Arwen in there more service the story, both in the streamlining of the film and of the development of that particular character. But Peter Jackson specifically said in a comment to adapting the world of Tolkien, he said, we don't want to make changes to to force current political messages or whatever into this film. We want to more adequately represent the world of Tolkien and
as Tolkien imagined it.
As Tolkien imagined it, and to uphold his values and stuff. And I think that's what's different with this Rings of Power. They've specifically said all of their marketing outside of the commercials is, hey, we are adapting Tolkien to more reflect our modern world because Tolkien is problematic, and that's the wrong way to do things. The changes in Arwen made her a more awesome, flushed out character,
and it was also okay because the characters that they replaced her with don't stick along very. They don't. They don't stay very long in the books anyway. They show up for a cameo,
right?
And Tolkien has
merging those characters is fine, but what the Rings of Power seems to be doing is just inventing these other characters that just are there because of representation, and it just doesn't look like Tolkien.
And what's happening with Galadriel is they're literally taking away things that male characters did and giving them to her so that you can have a strong female character, which is so silly because Galadriel is already a freaking awesome, strong female character.
She already did amazing things. She
doesn't need to be a warrior to
has
be cool.
A massive story that's just about how flippin' epic she is. She fought a war side by side with her husband, and before she was married, she was fighting. She was finding things. She was making a reputation for herself. She's flipping Arwen's grandmother. No one talks about that.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. Yeah, Elrond is married to Galadriel's daughter.
Yeah. Well, Galadriel's husband is dead in the show. Did you know that?
Wait, what?
Yes.
No, he's in the show?
Yeah, because she's going to have a romance with that character that they made up who's definitely not Sauron, guys.
I thought that he was going to be Celeborn. Now I'm confused.
No, it's I forget his name. It's
Celeborn is dead?
Yeah.
Celeborn is dope.
I thought that was her
He's
brother.
also in the movie.
No, that's her husband. They just look a little too much alike.
No, I mean in the trailer there was the dead elf, and they said
That's
now
your
you've
brother.
got to
That's
take
your
up.
brother.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
They don't say which
Oh,
one.
Gotcha.
that's okay.
The one in the trailers that you're seeing interacting with Galadriel is not Celeborn. Is it Celeborn or Celeborn? I don't know. Halbrand.
I'm
Thank
pretty
you.
sure it's Celeborn.
Thank you. They're calling him Halbrand. It's going to be Sauron.
Oh, okay.
That's
because
a warrior that's in the
rather than having Sauron appear as Anatar, the bearer of gifts. No, it's the bringer of gifts. I can't remember the verb before gifts. And having him teach them how to make the rings of power. He's going to appear as a random person and romance Galadriel. So they couldn't have her husband around for that.
Like they're messing with the timeline so much, they could just have him show up anyways and have them not get married for a while.
Yeah, even though they get married in the first age, right? It's either the first or second, but they're married well before the third age.
Isn't this supposed to take place in the second age?
Yeah.
Because one of the
this
issues
is the third age.
No, this is the
is it
second
taking
age.
place in the third age? I can have sworn it's the second age.
They don't
People
have
are
rights
saying that
to.
Hobbits didn't exist in the second age, which I am not completely sure.
It's the second age. You're right. It's the second age. Yes. They I know they get married in the first age then. Right. Because the third age, the third age is before. Yes. The movies, Lord of the Rings is the fourth age. Third age is more Silmarillion stuff.
Yeah.
And
I'm actually like visually, I'm less concerned about skin tones because I think that's fine for me personally, but I do take issue with dwarf women not having beards.
I know.
Yes. And everybody's complaining about the dwarf women not having beards, but almost every single elf in there has short hair. There's one elf that has long hair. All the other ones have like short, flowy, just cropped hair like this, or completely buzz cut. I'm like, that's not an elf. But
that's true. Maybe they're just going through a rebellious phase.
Maybe so, yeah.
The shot that they keep showing in the trailers of all of the dwarves in a circle where they're doing some kind of chanting. If you cover up the men, you can't tell that they're dwarves. They look like regular people because the women don't have beards and they don't look like dwarves. The men look like dwarves, and you're like, okay, that's a dwarf. But in Peter Jackson's movies, all of the races were instantly recognizable. You saw it. You could see an elf. You could see a tiny elf, a teeny tiny one fighting in a fight scene in the distance. And you're like, that's an elf fighting an orc because because branding, guys. Don't you like?
Yeah,
I like this comment too.
Been diversifying like fantasy characters for like forever, for a really long time, and so like they have dwarves and hobbits and elves that are a myriad of races, but you still like as far as skin tone and facial features are concerned, but you still know exactly what they are. You know that's an elf. You know that's a dwarf.
Yeah,
exactly.
That's a halfling.
All of the women that they've shown on Rings, the women dwarves on the show, like I would not be able to tell you it's a dwarf unless they're standing next to a man. But I really like this comment. They're also messing up stories that already have great representation by adding more. The Wheel of Time TV show was a catastrophe, which was a super diverse story, but they're taking. I don't know. I think I might have been complaining about this to you before, but I've done it on the show. There is a race of redheads.
Yeah.
Of white, pale redheads. And it's very important to the story because one of the main characters is secretly part of their race, and they find out because he looks like them. And you don't look like a person from this town because you got red head. You look like an Aiel. And they're recasting the character that the first one you're introduced to from their race, who's going to be like the goalpost, right? They cast her as a black woman.
Yeah,
it makes no sense.
there's plenty of room for them to play. There's plenty of characters for them to play other roles that
Exactly.
would work.
There are tons of races of people in Robert Jordan's world, but it makes me furious. And anytime I criticize it, it's like, oh, you're a bigot. You don't like black people. Like, no, I just don't like you changing the story to shoehorn in black people when it was already a diverse story.
Yeah.
And you're not you're not doing any favors to diversity if you're not bringing quality to what you're making.
Yes,
exactly.
And I want to share this. I was shocked when I read this, but this is a fantastic article, and it's exactly what you're saying. When diversity casting hurts the plot, it hurts black actors and viewers. When you're shoehorning them in, like bravo, Angie. I don't know her real last name. Maybe it says it at the end of the article. But this is exactly it. You're doing a disservice to black people when you're giving them these forced roles that people aren't going to like because it's a change and it's derivative. Look, just write good black characters.
Mm-hmm.
But this article is amazing, and I'm shocked that anyone was allowed it to be published. But it's so good, and because they brought it up because of the Game of Thrones prequel series, which is all about. I don't know if you know anything about Game of Thrones, but there's a race of Targaryens.
The Mega Blonde Targaryens.
They're all pale and white haired.
Right.
I don't believe that this one is Targaryen specifically. I think that he is an ancestor of the Targaryens from Valyria. I think Targaryens came from Valyria. I'm not super up to date on Game of Thrones lore, but literally one of the plot points from this book that the TV show is based on is there is a child and no one knows, and it's ambiguous as to who the father is. And if one of them is black, you're going to know who the father is. You just create problems for yourself.
Yeah.
I don't get it.
And there's when you because it depends. It like vastly depends on the medium you're going for. There was a version of what's his name? It's a Charles Dickens book, David Copperfield. So there's this version of David Copperfield that stars, what is his name? Dev Patel, I think is his name. Mm-hmm. And so, but they set it up from the very beginning that this is performed like a community theater. So like you've got curtains and you have actors that play like two different parts of two different characters. And Dev Patel is very obviously like 100% Indian, and his mother is played by a white woman, and he likes this black woman whose father is Asian. It's like very, very clear that this casting is purposefully colorblind because it's like they're having a community performant and not the actual people.
Right.
Yeah.
And it works.
It worked in Hamilton.
Yes.
Yeah. You had a it was silly. You had a black George Washington, but that wasn't the point of the story. The point of the story was to talk about the people. Their skin tone is never even mentioned once.
And it's Hamilton was deliberately making a comparison from modern day America to its foundation. Yeah. And it was purposeful, and it was very, very high quality.
Yeah.
So when that happens, that is when you honor diversity. That is when you honor representation. If you're just doing it for the sake of representation so that more young people are going to watch, that does it no service. It's an insult.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. This is fascinating. This is more Wheel of Time stuff that you will be uninterested in. I
have seen the first 5 episodes of Wheel of Time.
Oh, don't finish.
I did it on purpose.
You did it. Did you stop because you wanted to like read the book first, or because it was bad?
No, I stopped because it was bad.
I've had to apologize to so many people because I was
Yeah.
like, "You gotta watch the show." It looked really good.
I felt offended on the actors' part because I felt like the people
Yeah.
who were in the show had a higher quality than the directing and writing that they were getting into.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
I didn't want my viewership to be amongst its numbers. Like,
It's so bad.
I don't think it deserves my
It doesn't even hold a candle to the books. This is fascinating though. I didn't know that they had started repenting, because the last I saw of Nerdy Nightly, they were just shilling for the show. But that is encouraging to hear. The White Cloaks are a group of people in the books and the TV show who are religious zealots, and it became a term for people who didn't like the TV show. They called them book cloaks. And they got banned from Reddit. If you dared to say anything negative about the TV show, you got removed from Reddit. They created their own subreddit called the White Cloaks, where they posted memes about how bad the show was, and Reddit removed their subreddit so that you could not criticize the TV show.
Wow.
And Nerdy Nightly was criticizing the White Cloaks, but now it looks like they're reading the books and realizing just how wrong they were. So that is very encouraging to hear.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Wow. I will have to start watching them again because I stopped. I was very upset. So that's very encouraging. Lord of the Rings, what were we talking about?
Yeah, I don't know. We were talking about
I think Liz was saying she didn't like black actors or something like that. I can't remember what it was.
It was Arwen specifically. We were talking about Arwen, and we were talking about how she's a form of female representation that's done right.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. And it's because the changes they made bolstered her character, gave her more to do, and it made her more interesting, right?
And the characters that she replaced would never have shown up again in the movies, and so it's
and they're
it's
not
fine.
Characters that you get attached to while you're reading either.
Like, it makes more sense to condense the characters so that you get more attached to the story.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people did complain about Arwen at first, but I think by the end of the 3 movies, they're like, yeah, okay, she was good.
Also, you need a part in the movie theater where you have to go to the bathroom. And
anytime she's on screen complaining about,
I feel guilty about it because
am I going to stay for Aragorn, or am I going to go to
I love you so much. Like, all the little smoochy scenes, that's when I knew to go to the bathroom, because I was like, I don't need to see this on big screen. Like, I can imagine Aragorn making out with me instead. So,
okay, that casting though. So a lot of people were upset about Aragorn's casting too, but whoo boy,
Hugo Weaving. So good.
David.
Hugo Weaving, really?
David.
Viggo Mortensen.
Viggo Mortensen.
It's so dumb. Why do I keep bringing you on the show?
Nepotism.
Hugo Weaving. That's her daddy.
Although I have to admit that it used to be a joke amongst my friends,
David,
that
Hugo Weaving is her daddy, not her daddy. Okay.
We would say, "Welcome to Rivendell, Mr. Anderson."
Yeah.
We thought
Yes. There you go.
Really funny. But yeah, Viggo Mortensen is Aragorn. Like, you hear stories about him in real life, like the things that he did. He bought a horse.
So he was scared of horses.
Yeah.
And by the end, he bought his horse from the movie at the end because he was so attached. He
bought one of the other horses because the horse's handler wanted to buy it and couldn't afford it, so he bought it and gave it to her.
Wow!
Oh wow!
Because he is the king of Gondor.
Fantastic casting.
Thing to do.
Just about all of the casting is fantastic. Like even
it's flawless.
Even Legolas like say what you will about oh shoot, I just forgot his name.
18-year-old Orlando Bloom.
Yeah, or if say a lot of people don't like Orlando Bloom's acting, but he was a great Legolas because he looked like a little boy.
Yeah.
He looked like a Legolas. He really did. And he played a Legolas because you don't have to. Legolas is not deep. He is, which is funny because he's so old. And it takes a lot of effort to be so old and to be that shallow for that long. But that was who Legolas was. He was a spoiled little daddy boy who just did whatever he wanted and was a little racist towards dwarves. And
a little bit.
You know.
I guess casting him
got a lot of women interested into fantasy books. You're not wrong. He wasn't the one that I.
Yeah, it was Aragorn is more.
With, but
I would imagine if I was a woman, I would imagine myself being attracted to Aragorn more than Legolas.
Yeah.
I mean, as a man, I'm attracted to Aragorn more than Legolas.
No, it's terms in terms of attractiveness.
It's the ruggedness, right? Yeah.
And then Aragorn, and then Samwise Gamgee because of his personality.
Yeah, it's a step. It compensates a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, Faramir gets there because you know that he loves his mom, right? And you're like, this guy's going to take care of me.
Well, also, and this is something that I wished was in the movies, because you were mentioning this earlier, and now that I'm thinking of it, this is something that I wish was different, is there is Tolkien doesn't
like a
always do
nude
that.
Scene with Faramir, right? That's definitely what it needed.
That would have been wonderful. But I'm talking about a scene with Faramir and Éowyn and their relationship helping to heal each other.
Post battle. Oh, I love that.
Post battle. And it was
it totally would have taken away from the movie. And it
is the healthiest.
I totally understand why they didn't put it in, but it is so good.
But they could have done one thing that they didn't add, and instead he just gives her a hug and they look into the distance, be like, nah. He does something that's actually for their culture was considered a little risque, is that they're up really high where everyone can see them and they start making out. And I remember reading the book being like, I'm Éowyn. And it's beautifully written. It's it's something he kissed me under the sunlit sky, not caring those who watched from below. Be like, yeah, man.
It's also odd though, because the whole time Tolkien is, it feels like a textbook at times. He's like, oh, this person did this, and then he starts talking about Faramir and Éowyn, and you're like, this guy knows about romance. And I'm like, and it makes me tempted to read the Children of Hurin, which I haven't gotten to yet, because I'm like, because that one's a romance, right?
Yeah.
I'm like, if it's as good as
Beren and Luthien, then yeah.
If it's as good as Faramir and Éowyn, it gets saucy, and you're like,
and it's not super racy.
No, it's like emotional.
It is. It's literally what a healthy relationship looks like.
We have Corwin stuck at work, but his vote is Gandalf is his hottie. So noted.
Everybody has a hottie with a rose.
Weird choice, but okay.
It's the hat.
Yes, it was a better love story than Aragorn and Arwen.
Yeah.
And it was made even better because she's rebuffed by Aragorn.
Yeah.
I loved the stuff between her and Aragorn and how he's just like, look, I'm sorry.
Especially, it's so well done because the acting in it, you could obviously tell Aragorn is looking at her like she's a little kid.
Yeah.
And she's like, oh, I like him so much. And he's like,
but you can also kind of tell that she's at that point a little naive and kind of just attaching to the first male figure that she sees as a romantic interest.
Who's not related to her or Grima Wormtongue. It's not like she had a ton of options.
Well, she was basically leaving an abusive relationship with Grima, basically having her promised to him, right? And she can't escape this house, and then she's rescued by Aragorn. It's a little bit of not imposter syndrome. It's not Stockholm syndrome. What's the what's that psychological term for it, where you fall in love with your rescuer?
I don't know that one.
It's not Stockholm syndrome. It's like something else. But it happens in real life all the time.
Yep.
Yeah, but you can tell it wouldn't necessarily be like a healthy relationship either.
Not necessarily.
Okay,
so
okay, all right, okay, but this is the one scene though that might, tip the scales to Aragorn over Faramir, is when he opens up both doors of Helm's Deep at the same time. That is a hot scene.
That was a real awakening for me. There's a reason that I like don't allow my husband to shave his beard anymore.
Oh, Corwin, what is wrong with you?
Oh no!
Toss me.
Oh, that's a good one too. Toss me like a salad, Aragorn.
Don't tell the elf.
Oh, that's so good. Just slightly different intonation, a completely different meaning.
I think that awakened something in me. I don't know what that was.
Oh my gosh.
We're recording this,
This room is warm. It's warm.
Oh. Too much thirst. All right, who are the other hotties in the Lord of the Rings?
All of the Hobbit.
Galadriel, though. I mean,
everyone loved the Short King.
How are you gonna go from Peter Jackson's Galadriel to Rings of Power Galadriel? It's just
technically, chronologically, it's the other way around, but yeah. I don't know.
They even have her on the cover of Maxim or whatever. Not Maxim. They did the photo shoot. She's literally man spreading.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, it's weird because elves are supposed to be ethereal and extremely graceful, and
right.
Galadriel is the end all be all, prettiest, most graceful, most knowledgeable.
Kate Blanchett. I mean,
it's just beautiful.
Great casting.
Yeah. Yeah. And do you guys know the significance behind Galadriel giving Gimli 3 strands of her hair?
It's very significant, but why don't you explain it, because you could do it better than me.
So basically this is Silmarillion land. This guy is so obsessed with her because she's a total bombshell and she's amazing and she's smart and she's got it all going for her. And he was like, can I just have some of your hair, which is what women love. We love it when men desperately want a piece of our body parts. So she's like, no.
I need a pen. Sorry, I need a pencil real quick.
Yeah, you can take notes.
Go on.
And she was like, no. And he's getting all mad because he's important and
which pieces specifically? Like would a toe be appropriate or
just teeth.
Okay. I will ask for my wife's teeth.
It's really romantic. Just the next time she's at the dentist and you're like, hey,
don't
anything removed?
Don't throw that away. No.
Oh my gosh, did you know in some cultures they take like kids' baby teeth and put it in earrings and have like the kids wear it as earrings?
That's weird. That's
Wow.
weird.
That's a real tangent. But anyways, she says no. He just wants a strand of her hair, and she's like, "Nah, bro."
Yeah.
And then she meets Gimli.
Well,
elves
Gimli's
and dwarves.
Gimli's got game. He's flattering too.
Yeah.
He's
especially in
super
the extended
flattering to
edition.
her and super amazed with her, and never liked elves before. Did not like them. Was always saying nasty things about them. He meets Galadriel, and he's like head over heels. And she knows it, and so he asks for just one strand of hair, and she gives him 3.
Yeah.
And it
Great.
seems like, okay, weird, but within the context of her history, it's a big deal.
I love the
That's
way
awesome.
they did that in the extended version. How he's like caressing the box too that she puts it in, and like
Yeah.
it's great.
Yeah. I love how he was all shy. He's like, no, I don't need anything. I don't need anything. He's like,
Well,
there is one thing. It's so good. I love it. And you didn't get that
no.
if you didn't watch the extended versions. So it was so
Gimli.
good. I love that
Gimli
scene.
is a warrior poet for sure.
He is a warrior poet. Do you guys? I was wondering about this. Do you guys like the extended Hobbit? Because the extended Lord of the Rings was
No.
like
I don't
amazing.
like
And
the
extended Hobbit felt desperate.
I don't like the unextended Hobbit.
So did they make extended versions from the
Yes.
theatrical releases?
Yeah,
Oh
it
my
only
God.
adds
And
like
they add a
10
character
to 20
who-
minutes to each movie.
Okay, so it's not.
Yeah,
it's not an
and
additional
they
5
add
hours.
a character who's not even in the theatrical release, who was
Yeah.
not supposed to be alive.
Yeah, wow, which character was that?
It's the Dwarf King that
Oh.
was supposed to be slain.
Oh,
Yeah,
Weird.
he survives and then randomly shows up and then like dies again.
huh.
Interesting.
It's
Yeah.
so underwhelming.
No, the
See,
Hobbit movies were good, but and I liked all the extra stuff they added.
Good's debatable.
But I think it should have been 2 movies for sure. The first movie should have been when they finally got to Smaug's cavern, and then the second movie is everything else, because the third
They also
movie
should
especially
have
was just
added-
fluff.
The third movie is
Or
adapting
Romans in
like
it.
2 pages of the book.
Yeah, there was nothing to the third movie except slaying of the dragon, and that's over, and then it just keeps going.
Well,
Yeah.
it's a shame because I mean Peter Jackson did an amazing thing, and then they brought him back for the Hobbit. They kind of forced him to come back, and he didn't want. I know he didn't want to do 3 movies. He also wanted to take his time and do them well, and they forced
Just him.
they forced him to get him out to churn him out.
Which is
So-
why he used more CG and less
Did you?
yeah. actual film, which is what made the first Lord of the Rings so good, is that it's so real and it's tangible. And then you go into the Hobbit movies,
It's
and
like a
there's-
cartoon. They're
Yeah.
they're
And so
bouncing
many,
around in barrels and
Yeah.
like, it's
so
like a
many
sea
scenes
of-
The
go.
first one was okay. There were some clumsy
Yeah.
parts here and there. But the first one was probably his best, which
Yes, it was.
I'm guessing
I
is he
agree.
worked the hardest on and was the least rushed on. Because once you get into the second and the third, it just gets ridiculous.
I do like the scenes with Smaug. And
Smaug
that's
is
about it.
Yeah,
amazing, and it's pretty close to what's written
Yeah.
in the book.
Once it gets there, it's like it's
Line for
really
line.
good. And you get Gollum is in the first movie, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. That stuff's great.
yeah. The first movie was really good, and
The first movie does something really cool when he's with around
he
the
not-
Goblin King, and all of the dwarves get caught. Something really cool that happens is Bilbo sort of just like squats down, and they all just sort of run around them, and that's a cool little Easter egg because Tolkien talks about how hobbits are not seen when they don't want to be seen for the most
Yeah.
part. They
Yeah.
fade into their surroundings, which is the
Yes.
reason he was chosen to be a burglar in the first place, and was the
Yeah.
reason they were chosen to
Yeah.
bring the ring to Mordor is because they can fade into their surroundings. They're not easy to find. It's their magical gift that they have, is that they're not noticeable. So that was a really cool thing that Peter Jackson did, was showed his burglary skill.
Yeah, you can tell that there are moments where like you can tell he still clearly cares about the source material. He loves Tolkien, but you can see the seams of the corporate interference. I'm curious about this comment though. Was he not supposed to be the director of those movies? Did he come in for someone else? I don't know what that means.
I didn't hear anything about that.
I'm pretty sure he was supposed to be the director, although Guillermo del Toro worked a lot on it as well. And I love Guillermo del Toro. Like, I'm a huge Guillermo del Toro Hellboy nerd, not the more recent Hellboy that crushed my spirit. But like
the first
those are good movies.
The first two Hellboy movies that were supposed to be like
Pan's Labyrinth is incredible.
Pan's Labyrinth is spooky, guys.
It's spooky.
It's poopy. It's 3 spoopy, 5 me. I had a hard time getting through it.
It's so good. It's beautiful.
It is really, really beautiful. And so the Troll King, that has like Guillermo del Toro all over it. That's so his design.
I forget why that does. Yeah, I remember he was initially slated to direct it. I don't remember why he left.
Yeah, and I think if he had directed, I don't know if it would have been better, but it would have. There's a decent chance he would have found a way to make it feel less rushed, just because of the way he does design and production design in general. There's the possibility that it would have.
He left after 2 years of pre-production. So they were already getting everything ready, and Peter Jackson had to step into it.
That's bananas to work on a project for 2 years and then be like, I'm done.
What's interesting is that he left because of the delays. They were supposed to start earlier, and then he couldn't keep waiting, and then they shoved Peter Jackson into it and make him rush it.
Yeah,
that's so weird.
And it's just, there's a lot of frustrations with it in general. I do appreciate the world building and the music.
Oh, the music is great. Oh, getting what's it? Billy
Boyd.
Billy Boyd to that song, the Long Farewell or whatever. I randomly just pull it up on YouTube and listen to it all the time. That was
it's awesome.
3 days ago. I listened.
So good. Fun fact.
3 days ago, I listened to it.
You guys probably already know this, but when he sings for what's his name, Denethor,
the Steward of Gondor.
Yeah, when he sings for the Steward of Gondor, he wrote the music towards it. The lyrics are Tolkien's, but he wrote the music for it, and he hadn't shown it to Peter Jackson yet. And he was like, I have it. It's ready. Do you want to hear it? And he's like, no, I want you to get in costume. I want to film you singing it first. So they filmed him singing it first. And it's that one take. They're done, which is bananas because Peter Jackson was like take after take after take after take after take after take sort of director. And for a scene to make it on the first take was like unheard of.
And he hadn't even heard the song yet. He wasn't supposed to sing that song either. They had another musician lined up to write something for that scene, and something fell through, and then Billy Boyd was like, "Wait, we need a song?" Like, and they're like, "Yeah,
I'm a singer, I'm a writer.
Why don't you try something?" They were like, "Humor us."
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
Billy Boyd is fantastic.
Oh, and he's amazing, and so much of what makes it so good is the mood that's in it, because Pippin is scared and not really sure what's going to happen.
It's those cherry tomatoes. It's those cherry tomatoes.
No, he's not used to being away from his best friend. He's not an adult, BT Dubs. Well, he probably is by the time they go
He
into
should-
it. But at the
yeah.
beginning of the Fellowship, he's still a teenager by
Yeah,
Hobbit.
even
years.
though they're all like 80 years old, they're still considered teenagers. Yes.
Right.
It was before he turned 30.
Yeah.
Pippin wasn't 30 yet. So that unsurety that Billy Boyd had with like performing the song that no one has heard yet, and like
Well,
fitting
it just
into
added
that
to the
character.
uncomfortableness of the scene too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because he's sing me a happy song. We're not totally depressed right now.
I know, he's like, sing a happy song, and then
I've just
Pippin
sent
sings,
my
like,
son to
this
his death.
saddest
Sing me a jolly tune. I've got a lovely bunch of coconuts.
song.
Yeah. It was so good and haunting and yeah.
It was gorgeous.
Good stuff.
What is
It was
your
perfect.
favorite? What is your favorite scene from the movies? Because that is my favorite scene. With him singing,
That's a good one.
intercut with Faramir on the horseback, riding to his death. Cherry tomato. Best scene.
Yeah. As far as beautiful shots and cinematography, that probably takes the cake. But man,
That's really hard.
I try to think of a one that's better than that because
Well,
so good.
it's favorite scene that made me laugh, favorite scene that made me cry, and then favorite
Yeah.
scene that like made me really think about my life. Those are 3 different scenes.
Yeah. Okay.
So there's that scene where Samwise in the Two Towers, where Samwise is talking about, and he's in Osgiliath, and he's talking about why we love stories.
Yes.
That's good.
That one always makes me cry.
Yeah, we don't, we don't love stories because the heroes are perfect. It's because they keep getting back up, right?
Yeah, it's
Yep.
because they yeah.
Freaking
it's just-
Samwise, baby.
Yeah.
Oh, he was my favorite.
Theoden's
I love him so
Theoden's speech is
much.
up there. Yeah, that's a good
I
one.
watched every Sean Astin movie ever made when I was younger because of Samwise Gamgee.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sam has got a lot of good lines, got a lot of good monologues too.
Well,
Another favorite.
Well, that
another
scene is
favorite
weird
line is
when he's like,
when he
what,
leaves.
what stories will they tell about us?
That's what I was just gonna say.
I want to hear more about Frodo, and I want.
No, wasn't he wise? Wasn't he such a brave? Oh yes, he was the bravest of them all. And then that dialogue is so good. And then of course, the part at the end where he carries him to Mount Doom. So I can't carry the ring, but I'll carry you.
God.
That brings tears to my eyes every time.
Oh, it kills
So-
me. And he's so consistent with who he is and what he wants, and
that's right after Frodo told him to get lost, and
Yeah.
you can just see his heartbreak going down.
That was a
knowing
change. That was a
Smeagol-
change from the books too.
Is it?
Sam never leaves in the books.
Mm,
That was added.
I like that.
well, Sam was
just
Tolkien's
added.
favorite character.
Yeah. Sam is amazing.
He calls him the main hero.
That might be a side tangent, but I was really impressed. Another one of the reasons why I liked the Two Towers book better than the movie, because I only recently read the books. I have
So it's fresh.
I have dyslexia, and reading takes a really long time for me, and which I will sing praises to audiobooks because it got me back into reading.
Yeah.
But I was very impressed at Tolkien's restraint in the Two Towers, because he could have ended it on a cliffhanger and sold a lot of book 3s, which is what I thought was going to happen after Frodo gets attacked by Shelob and then hauled away by the orcs. And Sam sees him and thinks that he's dead. I'm like, okay, we're going to end here, obviously, because then people will go buy book 3. And he doesn't. He keeps going, and he ends on a moment of hope of Sam discovering that he's still alive. Or what? Does he save him in book 2? Or is that in book 3?
He saves him in book 3.
Yeah, okay. But it literally ends with him eavesdropping on the orcs saying that they carry. Shelob just stunned him. She didn't kill him. And then it ends with him like climbing up a mountain in this like victorious like scene of hope. And I'm like, why did you do that, Tolkien? Like, this is fantastic and a terrible PR decision. Like,
well,
but it's so good.
He didn't want to publish it in 3 books.
Yeah.
He wanted it to be one
after the fact,
massive
knowing
book.
that you're chopping it up.
Yeah.
It would be so tempting to stop. I can't believe he didn't do it.
That's true.
And it's better that he didn't. The ending of Two Towers is fantastic.
Yeah. So my son, I think he just finished watching.
You just finished
Return of the King, and he came in because he wanted to say something.
Yeah.
Go ahead. What do you want to say?
I like that.
You like all the fighting?
Well,
Go for it.
I like the elephants.
The elephants.
Oh, the
The
elephants.
They're pretty
Oliphant.
cool.
I got really excited when I read the book and there were Oliphants, and then I got to see it in the movies for the first time. I nerded out really hard.
Yeah.
I did with Shadowfax too. That was like an embarrassing horse girl moment for me. Was like Shadowfax coming on stage. My dad talks about it. He was like, he wasn't even watching the movie at that point. He was just like turning and looking at my face. And it was like just the biggest like, oh my gosh, it's that magic fast horse.
Jacob, do you know who Shadowfax is?
Shadowfax?
Yeah.
Remember the white horse that goes really fast?
Gandalf's horse.
Oh, yeah.
So,
And Gandalf says,
who's your
"Run,
favorite character
Shadowfax,
of all
show me
three
the
movies?
meaning of haste."
Show me the meaning of haste.
Yeah.
Who's your favorite character?
Yeah, who's the best
Oh,
character?
What's my favorite character?
There's a lot of
The
them, huh?
main character.
The main character. There's a lot of main characters.
Frodo Baggins.
Frodo Baggins. That's good.
Yeah, it's a classic.
All right. Thanks, Logan. Bud.
Bye.
Yeah.
So good. He's a good kid.
So, SG in the comments, who are you? Are you even human? Reading the whole trilogy in 3 days?
In 3 days.
That's insane.
They're not that long of books.
But they're dense.
Yeah.
They are dense books.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, it takes a while to get my brain wrapped around certain phrases, and because I remember watching the
There's a lot of names.
Yeah, so many names. And then like watching the extended, sometimes just the way that Tolkien tends to expand on what he's saying. Like there's a scene in the movies where Aragorn is like, pretty soon this place is going to be swarming with orcs. In the book, he says, fair teaming with orcs. Like,
Get real, Tolkien. Come on. Just say storming.
come on, JRR. We don't have all day.
Yeah.
Yeah. He was insane with the amount of attention he put to language and the poetry and
Yeah.
That was
he
another.
invented the Elven language. It's
Yes.
insane. Just for a couple poems and stuff. You know?
It's
Elven
yeah,
languages.
Yes,
Yeah.
more than one Elven language. But the thing is, it's not just he invented some words to their language. He invented
it's
a language
fully
that
flushed out,
actually
yeah.
works. Like people can speak it.
You can speak it, and it makes sense.
It's so like that is like the nerdiest thing ever. Like I'm a nerd, but like people who learn the Elven language, what is wrong with you? I mean, it's cool and I'm jealous, but like, come on.
Like
You're making us look bad.
Also, he did it. He does have certain bases to like spring it off from because of how many languages that he spoke in the first place.
Well, he was
and
a
the
linguist.
fact that, yeah, he wasn't just a linguist, he was a philologist. And philologist studies the origin of words and languages.
And so he
And-
just used that to build his own stuff.
Yeah, and so he just
Brilliant.
based it off of what he already understood. I swear, like, so I have these books by David Day. I just put them right next to me so you guys could see them. And like, this is just a small portion of like just explaining what Tolkien was talking about. Like,
So what is that? Hold that up again.
okay, so it's a series of books by David Day, and it's called The World of Tolkien.
Wow.
And it does a really good job helping you understand the order of how the world works in the first place. Like, so I've only read 2 of these so far. I got this for Christmas, and I've been kind of slowly going through it. This one is really good. It's an atlas of Tolkien. So it goes through like the backbone of all of it. And then you have the Hobbits of Tolkien, which actually is helping me set up for what they're saying is going to be happening in Rings of Power, because they claim that they're taking all of these different races of hobbits and
technically, Tolkien never said that that Harfoots didn't do anything miraculous in the Second Age. He said that hobbits didn't do anything interesting in the Second Age. So
Right.
we had license to tell the story about Harfoots. It's a Harfoot story, not a Hobbit story. For legal reasons. Yes.
Yeah. Like, this one that's just about hobbits, it spends like an entire chapter explaining the origin of the word hobbit and where he got it from. Like,
Wow.
it's ridiculous, but it's also really, really good. So it helped me a lot.
I quickly need to address this comment from Corwin, though. He's ripping off a meme and pretending that it's his own idea. That okay, the plot hole is that of Sam saying, "I can't carry the ring, but I can carry you," is proof that the ring doesn't understand the transitive properties. Therefore, they could have put the ring on a mouse and carried it to Mordor, and the whole thing would have taken like a week. Yes, we've all seen the meme, and it's dumb. Okay.
Yeah.
The
Also,
ring-
the Eagles could have flown them to
Okay,
Mordor.
Sam could
Sam
have.
was technically carrying the ring.
Sam
while
could have
carrying
carried the ring. What he was saying is, I can't take the ring from you, Frodo, because of how much it's corrupted you. He was carrying Frodo, and obviously he's going to feel the ring's side effects, but we're arguing semantics here because you want to tell a joke.
Have you ever wanted to like physically harm someone who wanted to talk about why the Eagles couldn't take the ring?
Yes.
I'm not a violent
But it's
person.
literally explained in the movies that that the passage is being watched, the birds, and like there's no like,
Nazgul have
briefly,
flipping giant wyverns that they ride in the sky.
yeah, if you're
What
riding
would
through
you
the
rather
sky, you're
see?
going to get spotted.
80-pound eagles. They're like, yeah, they can like see a fly from like 80 miles away, but those eagles, they're sneaky.
That's why he wanted to take the mountain route, because no one would be there.
Mm-hmm. And also, there's that idea again of hobbits being able to fade into their background. They're harder to
Right.
find.
Exactly.
What is your favorite movie or book? Which one's your favorite? Mine has changed. When I was young, I liked one better than the other. And now,
Well, since I haven't read the books, I'll just say my favorite movie is Two Towers for sure.
so you're a soy boy,
Soy boy.
basic. Yes, when I was, what is it? Paul says, when I was a child, I did childish things, but now I'm a man and I've grown up.
I put away foolishness or whatever.
Yes, I put away foolishness. When I was a kid, Two Towers was my favorite one because it had the best fight scene in it. It had the best battle, and
Film's
Return of the
deep
King
good.
was good, but the battle, the Minas Tirith had less weight because as soon as the ghosts show up, it's over.
Yeah.
You guys definitely watch this as males.
Yes, but Two Towers is no longer my favorite movie. It's the first one. It's the Fellowship of the Ring, by far my favorite movie, because of what it represents. The others are great, but the Two Towers is the transition. It doesn't have like a huge other than like this the sacrifice and stuff at Helm's Deep. It's got some great like glory moments, but it doesn't have the same emotional weight. And a lot of people like Return of the King because it is beautiful and it does have a lot of great moments in it, and like the ride of the Rohirrim. That was a different thing. But when Rohan shows up and rides into the battle, absolutely beautiful. And then the ending to it is emotional, and I used to cry every time as a kid seeing the ending to Return of the King, just because it's great. But they've already won, and it's a happy goodbye. Return of the King, as I've become a parent, as I've matured and my opinions have gotten better, the Fellowship of the Ring is by a mile the best movie. Because of how it ends. It is poetic and beautiful that it ends in a catastrophe, and still every single character individually chooses to be optimistic and ends on this great moment of hope. Let's go hunt some friggin' orcs. It has Frodo making the heartbreaking decision to leave his friends behind so that they can stay alive. And then Sam saying, "You thought, boy, no, I'm coming with you." And that moment is beautiful. But the best moment is Merry and Pippin. And I liked how the movies kind of made them more involved in the plot. Merry and Pippin seeing him running away and realizing
that
we can't go with him, and then them making the sacrifice and leading the orcs away.
Captured,
Oh, that gets to me. And then you have Boromir
throwing those rocks and just sobbing their eyes out because
they're like, what's he doing? Like, he's not coming back. Like, he has to leave. And you're like, I'm literally getting teary-eyed thinking of it right now. It's beautiful. And then you have Boromir, who is by far the most misunderstood character of all time, because he's one of the greatest characters ever written. His plight makes everyone misunderstands his plight. His plight is 100%. His goals are 100% logical. It is stupid, asinine to think that sending a little boy with the ring straight into the mouth of Sauron is going to solve this problem. Like, and he thinks that if we just take the ring, his entire life he's spent fighting the shadow, and like he's lost friends, and his people are basically on the brink of extinction. And for the first time, he's seen a glimmer of hope in a tool that they could possibly use to turn the tides of war. And obviously, you would want to bring it to Gondor. And even then, after his temptation, and he does make a mistake and tries to take it from Frodo, the second he's free from that influence of the ring, he knows what he did was wrong. And he's apologizing. He's like, I'm sorry. Like, I didn't mean to do it.
Yeah.
And then freaking sacrifices his life to save Merry and Pippin. And it's the best fight scene of all the movies. Like the battles.
So good.
Later on, the battles are really cool. And the scale is breathtaking and jaw-dropping. But the fights in the Fellowship are up close and personal.
That's true.
And
Merry and Pippin throwing those rocks with their little baby arms.
And they try to save Boromir after that too. And then Boromir takes like 5 arrows to the chest, and then Aragorn shows up and in real life bats an arrow away with a sword that was not, or bats a dagger away with a sword that was not scripted. He was supposed to throw it over him, and he threw it directly at his face. And in real time, he deflects it with his sword, and it's in the movie, and it's freaking awesome. And before that, when Aragorn talks to Frodo, is the most heart-wrenching scene of the entire trilogy, where he knows Frodo has to leave, and he says, I can't even say
Follow you to the end.
I can't even say the line. I would have followed you to the end. I can't even think about that scene without crying. And now that I'm old, I can get through about 50-50. I can get through the Return of the King without crying. But I cannot watch the first movie without bawling my eyes out in the end. And it's because the characters don't know if they're going to live. They don't know if they're going to win or be successful at all. And they willingly give up everything to save the world. The ending to Return of the King is great and emotional, but they've already won. And in the Fellowship of the Ring, it's literally the most beautiful thing ever. And I'm freaking crying.
Isn't that weird how after you become a parent, everything is so much more emotional?
Someone asked how old I am. I'm 30. I'm in my 30s. I think I'm either 30 or 31. I honestly don't know. I have to ask my wife every time.
Keep track.
It's
Does
beautiful.
anyone know how old I am? I am ageless. I am immortal.
You're elf.
Yeah.
Yes,
No, I'm
ageless.
100% Hobbit in my personality, in my eating habits, in my relationship with shoes.
Yep.
Sorry, I'm reading all your comments right now. Well,
So yeah, I was so this'll age me. I was, I think, 15 when the first movie came out.
yeah.
And
think I was like,
when the last movie came out, I was older than 15. And me and a group of my friends, we all decided to go see the midnight showing. Oh yeah. We also had to be at our we had a class at 6 a.m. to go to right after that because it was a school night.
Of course.
So yeah, yeah, if those of you know what seminary is, we had seminary at like 6 a.m. and we went to the movie, watched it, came back to our friend's house, fell asleep on the couch, woke up, went to seminary, probably got about 2 hours of sleep.
Worth it.
Worth it, because we spent it just bawling our eyes out. We were these big, massive nerds, and we were so in love with these characters, and we loved the movie so much. And finally, we get to see the final ending of the movie, and it's beautiful and it's perfect. And Eowyn does her thing, and she does it right, and it's true to the book.
And Eowyn kills the friggin' the edgelord Night King. What's
the
Witch King?
The Witch King. That's that. I'm flustered now. Okay.
He kills the Witch King. She's amazing. Takes over. He's like, no man can kill me. It's in a prophecy. And she's like, take off your helmet. And she's like,
I'm a woman.
He like stabs him, and he's like, and we're like, yeah. And then
wouldn't that scene have been better though?
We're crying, and like everyone's bowing to the hobbits, and we're crying. And
wouldn't the Eowyn Witch King fight scene have been a lot better if they played No Doubt over it?
Which, No Doubt.
I'm just a girl.
I'm just a girl living in captivity. Oh, actually, those lyrics work.
Yeah. No, that I'm referencing. I'm referencing Captain Marvel. The fight scene at the end where they're playing No Doubt. It's I'm just a girl, and I'm just like, this is just so like on the nose. Like, we get it. She's a strong female character.
Oh, I hate it. So anyways, so that was my favorite for like forever, because not only was it flipping good, but I had that like amazing core memory associated with it. But you mentioned that the first movie as a whole, the way that it's put together, the way that the way that it ends.
sorry.
that
They go into Shelob's lair, walking in a spider web. I gotta cut that. It'll get demonetized immediately and flagged for copyright strike, but I might edit that into something.
It's good.
That's actually really clever. So anyways, so that was my go-to. It was like, of course, it's the last movie. It's amazing. It's beautiful. It's put together so well. It's so the heart of it is so true to the heart of what Middle Earth is. But the one that I rewatch the most, and the one that I comfort watch, is the first movie.
Yes.
Yeah. That's true, but also that's because if you're gonna hey, let's watch.
But then every time you
one.
rewatch it, you have to go and watch the other two, though.
Yeah.
Oh no.
Oops! It's like you've seen the meme of the cookies and the milk. Like, oh no, my cookies are all gone, but I still have milk left. Better get another cookie. Oh no, I still have a bite of cookie and no more milk. Better get. And it just keeps.
That's if you give a mouse a cookie in real life, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
It's just it for so many of us, it defined our upbringing and how we view the world and how we handle the world because of the movies and because the movies made us want to read the books.
Yeah.
It's also just like a reminder of a time when Hollywood cared about heroes. Like the dynamic has shifted so much, and everything's morally gray now, and everything's about identity politics and this and that, and you can't just have strong moral people in your movies anymore, and it's beautiful. And there is a real reason why these are the best-selling books of all time, other than the Bible, okay? Because you can't beat Jesus, but Tolkien got pretty dang close, okay?
Yeah.
And like
it's want to though. He was pretty heckin' Catholic.
It's insane to say that. I can't relate with a character unless they share the same skin tone as me, because everyone relates to Lord of the Rings. You don't need. It's silly, and I've said it before, but like I don't want to watch movies about fat, overweight people in their 30s who stay at home making YouTube videos. Like I watch these movies because it's something greater than myself. So I don't want to see myself on screen.
Yeah. Exactly, and you see that even in the the actors that are playing the elves in this new Lord of the Rings. There was an interview with
they're making it all about themselves.
Yeah, but there was an interview in the for the Black Elf in the new series, and he said as a boy he pretended that he was an elf, and he went around and he played an elf, and then he goes on to complain that there wasn't anybody in the movies that looked like him. I'm like, but you still related to the movies. You still pretended to be an elf because those stories touched you. It doesn't matter what the people look like. You can relate to something without having it look like you. And I understand the importance of representation, but it's not just representation for the sake of representation is not doing anybody any favors. You need to have good story first.
And especially when you're adapting someone else's work, don't you want to represent
exactly?
Don't you want to represent that person's work? Don't you want to represent that person who made a thing? If you want to I've been called a bigot so many times that I want to co-opt the word, right? So that only we can use it, right? But like it has nothing. I have no problem with black people. I grew up with black friends. I loved watching the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air and the Cosby Show. For Bill Cosby was my hero growing up. I could still to this day quote verbatim his entire album of "To Russell, My Brother Whom I Slept With." Okay, I don't
Good
care
stuff.
about skin color, but when you this forced representation it's a not a bait and switch, but it's a lie. They're not doing it because they actually care about representation or what they're saying. They're doing it because they want to push a message. And that's specifically what Peter Jackson set out not to do. They asked him if he was going to make those kind of changes, and he says, no, we're trying to represent Tolkien's work as best as we can. And when these Rings of Power people, showrunners are being interviewed, they've explicitly said, no, we think that this show should reflect our current world and not Tolkien's world. And you can see it. You can see the difference. Watching these trailers, they look garbage. They look terrible. And I had a really rough week. I was planning on marathoning the extended editions of the movies before this show. It turns out I have a really good memory because I've already watched them about 1 million times. I was going to like live tweet me rewatching the movies so that I could have a better conversation tonight. And this week has been crazy. We just had a baby, and then our car broke down, and then the dealership tried to screw us over and steal our car that they told us was worthless and needed a new engine and $10,000 of repair. And we're like, no, it actually turns out it just needs the spark plug replaced. So I didn't have time to watch this movie, but last night I started. I'm like knowing full well I wouldn't be able to finish it. I just to like get myself in the headspace, I started watching The Fellowship of the Ring, and it felt like coming home. And I was like, you can just immediately tell that they cared about the source material as opposed to all the trailers that I've been watching, and it's just so sad to see. Like I want the show to be good. It's not like I want to see a bad Tolkien adaptation. I just know that it is going to be bad because they don't care about Tolkien. They care about using his proprietary, his name to send their message.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully I have this tiny little bit of hope that it'll surprise me and that I'll enjoy it. Part of the attitude that I'm bringing it though is that it is a more of a like a fan mail sort of
Fan fiction
sort of situation. And I'm like, okay, if I put myself in the right mindset and I think of this as like a sort of fan fiction and I give it the right attitude, maybe it'll surprise me. Maybe something good will happen. I did not think Heath Ledger was going to be a very good Joker.
Yeah.
And I was really, 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 really wrong.
Mm-hmm. No, I've been wrong. And I will, if the show is good, I will 100% admit that I'm wrong. But
yeah. But I mean, to be fair, like we've said before, it doesn't look like a bad show, but it looks like generic fantasy. It does not look like Tolkien's Lord of the Rings. It just looks like generic fantasy show. Insert name here. You know,
if you squint and turn your head, you might not hate it.
Yeah.
But
we'll see.
So I am looking forward to it with cautious optimism, and that's all that I can do. Because if it surprises me and I end up really liking the adaptation and I end up really liking the characters and they're well written, I don't care as much what they look like. If they make me feel like I'm in that world, I don't care what their skin color is. I can celebrate that diversity with them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm also already jaded because of what they did to the Wheel of Time. And you admitted that show was garbage, and you're not even attached to the property, right?
No, I'm not. It was just not good.
Yeah.
And
I gave
the trailers
that
for
was
that
my,
looked
like I
way
gave
better
them
than this.
I gave
See,
them
I'm
my
more
hope
worried-
and I
I'm
gave
more
them my
worried
hope and
that
optimism.
they had to have they had to hire people for nude scenes.
Yeah.
And I was like, what?
An intimacy coordinator.
And
Yeah.
they had why? Unless there's like kissing, if you need an intimacy coordinator for kissing because you want to make sure everything on the set is safe, that's totally fine. But if you're there because there's going to be nudity or other stuff that
Well, they've also already shown that
never brings up because he was an extremely conservative man.
he was a bit of a prude.
He was a bit of a prude.
He was a hardcore Christian.
Yeah. I mean,
they have shown in the trailers. So like their immediate response was like, no, it doesn't mean sex is going to happen. They hire intimacy coordinators for on-screen kisses and stuff too. And you're like,
but why are you making it a
okay?
big deal?
Yeah, but
Like, why
they
are
have
you
shown in
making
the
it?
trailers.
Why are you telling people? It seems like they're
Yeah.
trying to create scandal before scandal exists.
My one olive
Exactly,
branch
yeah.
that I will offer them is that they have shown in the trailers that Gandalf shows up naked when he falls from the sky.
Okay.
What?
The comet, the comet is a Maiar
Okay.
falling, and
Okay.
the burning pit with the guy
I thought that was supposed
standing.
to be Sauron
No, that's Gandalf.
coming to Middle Earth.
No, that's a Maiar thing.
It's going to be. It's Gandalf.
I do hope they have like different like the different wizards, because you've got the blue wizards and the brown wizards, and
Yeah,
they never even
probably-
mentioned the blue ones.
they probably won't.
They I don't know. Radagast kind
mean,
of came out of nowhere.
That's something that they have, free license for, because they don't have anything to do. We don't learn anything about the blue wizards in the Lord of the Rings. They're just kind of MIA. So
They exist.
you have not seen what I've seen yet. Yeah. It's just, I don't know. Everything, all the promotional material that they've done aside from the trailers is just red flags everywhere. The biggest
and
one I think
really
is
wish
just
they would have
hiring.
some form of reassurance that we love what's written. We're going to be true to his words and his world and his ideas
Right.
and his message. But that's not the impression that I'm getting.
Right,
Oh.
and
It's
they
more like we're
fired
using
the
names
lore
and creating
expert.
our own story.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
fired Tom Shippey for telling him to stop what they were doing.
Yeah.
Well, we would love to have you back on the show anytime. We'll be going over the Rings of Power episode by episode. But I think you
Oh,
said
really?
you're busy
Okay.
next week, but you are welcome to come back and tell us how wrong your optimism was, how misplaced it was.
I am
Time
prepared
will
for that.
tell.
I actually might be able to make it next week. We'll see.
Okay,
Yeah.
there's a tempest inside me. Sorry. Oh, you guys are funny. I think that's a good place to wrap up the discussion. We do a thing called bad takes here on the show. You're welcome to stick around.
Okay.
Where I make fun of Screen Rant because they're terrible. But we've been talking for 2 hours. I understand if you have to leave. And
yeah,
then,
I do have to leave.
okay.
But thank you for inviting me on
Thank you
here. I
so
love that I
much.
got to nerd out about my favorite subject, because it really is my
Yeah.
favorite subject, other than
Thanks
my
for
family.
joining us, Liz.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah, you're welcome back anytime.
See ya.
Bye.
Bye. Okay.
I'm still emotional just thinking about Lord of the Rings and how beautiful it's a beautiful story.
It is. Shall I move on to my favorite segment?
Your favorite segment?
Oh yeah,
Is it yours?
it's always a good time.
It's a good time. All right, we got
It's
some.
your segment, but it's my favorite of your segments.
It's it's the only one that we've done consistently
That's true.
because I can't get the people in the comments to air their grievances, and incredibly nuanced has kind of just turned into small talk. So
Yeah, that's true.
but we got some bad takes. Everybody, here we go.
Screen Rants. bad takes.
Its prequel series can make Pennywise an even better villain. What series?
Back to this gag, huh?
No, but also, this is dumb. No one cares about prequels. Stop making them. That's not what's interesting. I don't care about how an evil person became the evil person. I care about the evil person. Also, Screen Rant has updated their website, and now every page is just littered with ads, and I hate them even more. And they had 3 pop-up ads I had to close on each tab that I pulled up.
They weren't making enough revenue, so they got to find it elsewhere.
Okay, we got more, though. Rings of Power could make Smaug and Shelob look pathetic. It won't, though.
Yep.
Good
Good luck with that.
Another pop-up ad. Freaking Screen Rant. It's going to make editing these segments even harder. Yeah, I admit, Rings of Power has potential to do good stuff. Problem is, the people in charge are idiots, and they're not going to do a good job.
Very likely.
Pennywise in the Guild of Fools in Discworld. I would love to see a Discworld cinematic universe. That could be awesome. You could do movies and TV shows, and they could all tie together. Ooh, Discworld, baby. Here we go. In defense of somehow Palpatine returned. There is no defense to how bad this line is. And it's like, I have a question for you, Thomas Bacon. How much is Disney paying you to write this article?
Right.
What
does he say?
Somehow Palpatine returned. Poe Dameron observed in Star Wars Rise of Skywalker, but this isn't a storytelling failure after all. Wrong! His reasonings are no one's ever really gone.
Oh my gosh.
We got to see his laugh in the trailer.
Is that...
Most viewers assumed Rise of Skywalker would focus on the mystery of Palpatine's resurrection. What? Or that the film would explain it, and it didn't. And that makes it good.
That makes no sense.
What? The Force has always been a mystery. It's okay that they didn't explain jack crap.
It's not that it's a mystery. It just came out of nowhere.
Star Wars has always been political. Star Wars has always been garbage. It's okay that Rise of Skywalker was bad. It's always been this way.
Well, see, the Force has always been a mystery, but there's always been foreshadowing, and stuff that ties back in together, and echoes of the past. It's not just somehow Palpatine returned. It's just bad writing any way you cut it.
When it comes,
I'm sorry.
When it comes to the Force, less is more.
No.
Look, at least as far as the films themselves are concerned, Palpatine's explanation of his resurrection, his claim that the dark side is a pathway to powers. Screw you, Screen Rant. Stop moving things around when I'm reading them. Gosh, I hate them so much more now. Look, how many... I hate this. I have a pop-up blocker too.
Are you serious? You have pop-up blocker?
Yeah, and ad removals.
I don't see it up in the top.
It's an incognito window, but it should still register. Oh my gosh! It's moving again. Where was I? His claim that the dark side is a pathway to powers many would consider unnatural is not a cop-out. It literally is. It's literally all anybody needs to know.
Wow.
You still haven't given us a single reason why this isn't bad writing. Star Wars tie-ins now, retroactively, the Star Wars tie-ins are clarifying the something.
Yeah, but
That
you shouldn't-
doesn't mean it was a good decision originally.
Exactly. You know that's a good
That's
a good
it.
tie-in.
That's it. That's all they had to say to justify this.
We just talked about the Lord of the Rings and how he has several appendices to go deeper into the lore, but you don't need those appendices to understand Lord of the Rings. You shouldn't need extra material via TV shows or comic books or statements from the writers to understand what happens in the movies. The movies should be self-contained, and yeah, you can learn some extra stuff if you delve deeper, but it shouldn't have to explain stuff that wasn't explained in the movies. This is just stupid.
Even so, it's stupid with an explanation. It's still bad.
Yeah.
Oh,
Because there was no lead up. It just came out of nowhere.
Okay, I'm thinking maybe there was just a Chrome update because the pop-up blocker used to work on incognito mode, but I pulled it up on my own and it is working. I need to update my settings. This is a me problem, guys, I guess. Here we go. Why Breaking Bad's twins barely talk and why it doesn't work. It does work. Those characters in Breaking Bad are fantastic.
Yeah.
And they're more scary because they don't say anything, because their only drive is revenge. It's scary and it's cool. The reason they give here is because all of the other characters, all of the other bad guys in Breaking Bad were really fleshed out and believable, and their motives made sense. So these guys not speaking feels cartoony.
It's dumb.
It's called diversity. You don't want all of your characters to be the same. You want to have different characters. That's how stories work. Shut up, Screen Rant.
Yep.
We got more. We got a lot today. Marvel's retcons are secretly good for the MCU. No, they're not. That's all I have to say about this one.
Yep, that's bad.
Why Robert Downey Jr. left the MCU and Iron Man.
Because he
I don't know. Well, hold on. Let me think about this for a second. Could it be that his character died?
Safe bet.
No. It's the kids who are wrong. What is this article? You think it was Robert Downey Jr.'s decision to leave the MCU? His character was killed off.
Yep. That's almost as bad as the Black Widow article. They're like, the Black Widow movie just doesn't give Scarlett Johansson's character enough room to grow, and we're not going to be able to see much of her in the future. Yeah, because we know where her story lays, and she's dead too.
Hold on. Jacob Ironside, you think Breaking Bad is a train wreck? Are you serious? It is fantastic. I just finished watching Better Call Saul, and I burst into tears at the end. Yeah. It was beautiful.
Better Call Saul is way better than Breaking Bad.
Better Call Saul is better than Breaking Bad.
Really good shows.
Breaking Bad is fantastic storytelling. It is hard to get through because the main character is not likable and keeps making bad decisions.
That's the problem. But
it's good because he gets his comeuppance in the end.
Yeah.
It's a great morality tale. I understand it is hard to get through, but the cinematography and the storytelling are poetic and beautiful. Better Call Saul is even better.
Yes.
But a train wreck. Whoa, that's a bad take.
I do agree.
We
that
love you,
he's
Jacob. Though
very,
We're glad you're
very
here.
unlikable, and he just keeps getting more and more unlikable because he has so many
He has
opportunities.
so
to
many
quit,
opportunities to
and
turn
he
around.
just keeps digging himself deeper and deeper.
Oh, okay.
And that's what I like.
Yes.
it's one of the-
Okay. It's
Yeah.
okay.
Gotcha.
Okay. I was questioning myself for a second. Yes, it is a train wreck. It is his character just it kind of like a film noir in that it just keeps getting worse and worse and worse.
Yes, and that's one of the reasons that I like Better Call Saul better is because
His
you can
character
see in his heart,
yeah.
he wants to do the right thing,
but
but circumstances as it be, they keep forcing him to make bad decisions and getting himself in trouble, and that's what I like about him. His character is a lot more endearing than Walter White.
Love it though. Just excellent storytelling. Probably some of the best TV ever made of all time.
Yeah,
is Breaking Bad. Game of Thrones could have been a contender there until they screwed up the ending. But we got more bad takes. Indiana Jones is going to make you cry, and that's perfect. Yes, I frequently cry into my pillows just at the thought of Indiana Jones 5 being made.
Yep. First three were just perfection. They didn't need to make a fourth one.
And they don't need to make a fifth one.
Yeah.
That's what makes me cry, Screen Rant. That's what makes me cry.
I don't know what they can do to. Why?
It's dumb.
Anyways,
no. Oh, I thought my phone was on silent. House of the Dragon birth scene is criticized for lack of trigger warning.
Yeah,
I'm going to go out on a limb here.
Everything.
I'm going to go out on a limb here. You're watching Game of Thrones. You probably don't need a trigger warning. Okay? It should just come de facto. You're going to see some ugly things.
This is true.
Why would anyone be shocked that the show that's known for doing shocking things has a shocking thing happen in it? I hate this. Stop insisting that movies give you trigger warnings and tell you all of the plot points that are going to happen in the movie you're going to watch.
Exactly.
Sit down. If you see something you don't like, leave. Don't watch the show. But stop requiring that companies cater to your every whim and just on the off chance that you might get offended.
Yes.
Also, you're watching Game of Thrones.
It's going to be bloody.
And
it's going to
you
be
want
gory.
a trigger warning?
Yep.
Sorry, there's some comments. Two of Harrison Ford's best characters are Han Solo and Indiana Jones. They get killed off, yeah. Well, I mean, at this,
They're probably going to kill him off in this fifth one.
There's more bad takes, everybody. Oh, this one isn't a bad take. Top Gun Maverick holds a strong second.
It's second.
Top Gun Sorry, this was supposed to be in the news section.
What?
This is in the wrong place. This is not a bad take. Top Gun Maverick holds a strong second worst box. It's
strong. It's second. It's second worst box office weekend.
In the second worst box office weekend of 2022. That is really hard to read.
That's terrible.
It's not just me, right?
No.
Top Gun Maverick holds Top Gun Maverick holds strong in the second worst box office weekend of 2020. Yeah. Top Gun Maverick is still making money, guys, because it's a good movie. It just got deranked, so it no longer got first this week because Was it Bullet Train? No, it was a different movie.
There's Bullet Train. There's Nope that came out recently.
The
There's a
Invitation.
couple newer ones.
The Invitation took the #1 slot this week, but also no one went to see movies this week. But somehow people still went out to see Top Gun Maverick. Take a hint, Hollywood. Make more of these movies and less of the other ones. Yeah.
Yep.
Sorry, this is a bit delayed. Game of Thrones, where little girls get burned to death, and you expect a trigger warning. And little boys, they burn little boys and little girls. That's like 3 seasons apart or 4 seasons apart. Okay.
Yeah. It's amazing how well Top Gun is doing.
Top
right
Gun.
there. Yeah, it says 12th. It's the 12th weekend. It's been out for 12 weeks.
And it's still
that's
charting
3 months.
either #1 or #2. The
Yeah.
only times it hasn't been #1 is when there's a major release and it gets #2. But even some of those, it's still beat out as #1.
Yeah. It's crazy how well it's doing.
Okay, more bad takes. How She-Hulk show creator coped with getting rejected for 3 MCU projects. I haven't read this. David, you sent it to me. Why is this a bad take?
So basically, it's just more for the news portion that this creator was rejected for other MCU projects that she.
Yeah, I know that she wrote a script. I know she originally wrote a script for the Black Widow movie and wanted to put She-Hulk in it.
Yes, that was one of them, and I forget what the other ones were. But so I brought this up more as just news on. She was rejected for lots of them, and it goes back to the article last week where they wanted to write a legal drama, and then all the screenwriters got together and like, we're crap at writing a legal.
We don't
drama,
know
so
anything about
something else.
The law.
It's just like I don't understand. Like they just like, why did you hire this woman if she's been rejected several times?
She can't. They rejected her for Marvel properties, and they rejected her legal dramas, the 2 things that this show is about.
Yeah, exactly. It's just like, come on.
Yeah. Ugh. Oh, no. Oh, I forgot to
Did you accidentally close one?
No, there was another article that was going to tie into the screen rant, but we'll just pull up the screen rant because it talks about the same thing.
Gotcha. Yeah.
This is a different thing.
This is another one I sent you that pisses me off. Like, I don't understand the.
Let me read
the
let me read it.
Tear down. You go ahead.
Cap's virginity gags. Cap's
virginity gag makes Old Man Steve's endgame line better.
Thank you. I was having trouble reading that one.
You got it. Again, it's poorly worded titles there. Word salad.
So, the fact that they destroyed Captain America's morality makes his final scene in Endgame better? How so, David?
It doesn't.
Oh.
It's crap.
Yeah.
And you made an interesting argument when we first talked about She-Hulk. Hulk knows what happens.
Yes.
To Captain America. He knows that he goes back in time and spends this lifetime with Peggy Carter. So if he wanted to end that argument, say, look, hey, shut up. He didn't die a virgin. He happened to marry the love of his life
and had sex with her.
Yeah. It's just so like, first off, I don't care. How is it important that he died a virgin or not? So what? But just it just goes against everything that Captain America was. He was always this beacon of virtue, and he was a Boy Scout, right? They made fun of him for that. That's who his character was. You know, getting changed into this big buff superhero guy didn't change who he was underneath. And yet they decide to just drag him through the mud and say, oh no, he was sleeping around with all sorts of bimbos while he was on tour. It's just, it's frustrating.
He kisses Peggy's niece, and he was interested in her romantically. Yes. Sorry, that came out of nowhere. I should have showed the comment I was responding to when I did that. Yeah, the blonde chick who shows back up in Falcon Winter Soldier as the guy, the person there, the black market drug dealer, whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, he kisses her. But I mean, the movie, the Captain America: The First Avenger, it literally shows him repeatedly rebuffing the advances of women coming onto him because he was in love with Peggy Carter. And now, according to Kevin Feige, he was banging all of those chicks that apparently he was just doing it for the camera. He was just rebuffing them so that, like, oh, Peggy wouldn't get mad. And then after she left, he would go, run a train on them. So stupid. Okay, I found the article I forgot to pull up. This one is really stupid. So I don't even know how to say her name. Jamila Jamil. She's the actress from the Good Place, who also plays Titiana. It's not Tatiana, it's Titiana in She-Hulk, the villain who shows up at the end of episode 1 and has a fight. A fight with She-Hulk. Jamila Jamil in that scene wanted She-Hulk to punch her in the vagine.
Oh, okay, that's cool.
Because that would be something appropriate for families in the MCU. She wanted to get a good box. She wanted her box boxed.
Wow.
That's a pun. Why? Who cares? And who's going to write an article about this? Screen Rant. She-Hulk actor reveals hilarious.
So hilarious.
Titiana courtroom fight where she gets fisted in the vagine.
That's wow.
Hilarious.
So hilarious.
I wish.
You see how much I'm laughing. That's so hilarious.
So funny. It would have been great. She'd be like, I'm here in this courtroom. I want you to punch me in the hoo-ha.
Wow. Yeah, let's all take our kids to watch that. By the way, did you notice that She-Hulk is on Disney Kids?
Yeah.
If you have a kids profile, it's one of the ones you can watch. You can't watch anything else in the MCU besides the animated, Spidey and his friends cartoon or whatever. But you can watch She-Hulk. It's like,
well, you got to teach your kids when they're young to hate women, you got to teach your kids when they're young to hate men. So
yeah,
that's it for Screen Rant articles, except for them as a company, because this is not an article that they wrote, but Screen Rant and Mark Ruffalo teamed up to call IMDb, take them to the mat and say, you need to change the way your rating system works. Why, you ask, David? Ask me why.
Why?
Say, like, why would they want?
Why would they do that?
Why would they say? Why
explain.
Would they want? David, shut up. Say, ask me. Why would they want to change how IMDb rating systems work?
Why would they want to change how IMDb rating systems work?
Oh, because people didn't like She-Hulk and they rated it poorly.
Oh, interesting.
And that means we need to silence those people.
Yeah.
What? They're calling it review bombing, even though they're openly calling for people to positively review bomb the show.
It goes both ways.
There have always been people who get passionate about nerddom. Okay? It's not review bombing. Your show is bad. It has nothing to do with bigotry or sexism. Your show is garbage. I like strong female characters. I like the She-Hulk comics because the She-Hulk comics are good. I don't like the She-Hulk show because the She-Hulk show is not good. So I'm not trolling when I go to IMDb and say this show is dumb and woke.
Yep.
They literally changed her origin story in this show to make it more stupid because they could not have a man save a woman.
Yep. It's pretty ridiculous.
And it's boring. I hate Mark Ruffalo. I don't think he's a good actor. If you I want to like put a clip, but like all of his scenes in the MCU I really dislike. I don't think he's good at emoting as Hulk at all.
Really?
I'm sure he's good in other roles, but him as Hulk I really dislike. I think the worst he ever did was in Endgame, like the opening scene where they're like, but we're gonna, like, just the way he talked, I hated it. It was really bad acting.
But I still don't want to see his character.
No, I don't want to see his character, even though I dislike him, I don't want to see his
Escalated.
character destroyed.
Yeah.
I hope She-Hulk is as successful as Netflix's Resident Evil. Yes, hopefully it will be canceled the second the last episode airs of season 1.
I mean,
I forgot about this. Yes, there was an actor who got their butthole injured and had to go to the hospital while filming She-Hulk. I forgot who that was.
I didn't hear that. Wow.
I think you sent me this one, David. But the She-Hulk head writer Jessica Gao explains decision to update Jennifer Walters' origin reveals complete misunderstanding of the original Marvel comic.
So again, I'm really liking bounding into comics more and more.
They're great
more articles that I've seen, because they're the ones that are dumb. They're just reporting on other people's stupidity and they're the stupid things that they say, right? But they understand it. They understand the changes we've already talked about to her origin make no sense. Like first of all, getting a little bit of blood on you, that's not how a circulatory system works, right? It can get infected, but it's a slow process. It's not going to immediately suck in anything.
She immediately transforms into Hulk. It takes It takes 5 seconds, and she's Hulk.
It's ridiculous. So
what happens when she's on her period?
I don't. Oh my gosh, I don't want to think about that.
I think about that all the time. Keeps me awake at night. I think about She-Hulk's period.
The original origin is
much better.
David,
the problem is they didn't think about it.
Right.
They changed the origin because they couldn't have a man saving a woman, and it created a problem that they didn't think about because they don't care about continuity and storytelling.
Exactly. Yeah, the whole thing is just.
She also said, beyond how she was turned into Hulk, the character's first run is fantastic. It starts off with she gets turned into She-Hulk, and I believe no one knows she's She-Hulk at first. And there is a mobster who has it out for what's her name? It's Jessica. No,
Jennifer Walters.
Jennifer Walters.
I think
there's a mobster who has it out for Jennifer Walters because she's a lawyer and tries to get her killed, not knowing that she's the She-Hulk. And so, like, it's great. And she's trying to juggle, becoming a superhero and all this stuff. And, like, her best friend ends up getting killed by the mob instead. And Gao's explanation was, we thought that would be too hard. It would be too hard to explain why there was a mob after her. I can explain it in 1 second. She is a lawyer.
Yeah. It just goes back. These writers don't know how to write a story, and they've admitted it. They said that they are inept at writing crime dramas. She was fired, or she didn't get accepted for 3 previous
It's right here.
screen.
See, I heard this quote
Screenwriting.
before I even read this article that you sent me.
Yeah,
First, the head honchos at Marvel. First, the head honchos at Marvel specifically didn't want it to be the mob hit. That's the accident that she gets in that makes her turn into the whole where Bruce
She
has
needs
to
the
save her.
blood
It
transfusion.
just didn't feel like it fit with everything.
Yeah, so a random alien spaceship showing up and knocking him off
Oh.
the road makes so much sense.
It was Jamil who hurt her butthole. Did they film the scene where she gets punched in the vagine?
Oh
Is that what happened? I bet you they filmed that scene.
no, that's hilarious. Oh my gosh. Yeah, and you notice too, going back to the series in episode 2, when she has that phone call with Bruce, it looks like he's in that same ship, that same
Yes,
alien
yes.
ship that hit
He's
them.
being
It's
taken
like,
away by the aliens. Yes.
it's just, I don't know. It's complete nonsensical, and the dialogue, especially in episode 2.
Here's the explanation they give though why they changed her origin.
Okay.
For
read
me, having watched this Bruce Banner, this Hulk through all the years and all the different MCU movies, he was already tortured by this. It wasn't a gift. He saw it as a curse. So that's why we couldn't have him give it to his cousin.
Right.
That's the same
why
in
it's
the-
so good.
That's why it's called poetic irony.
Yeah.
That's
That's
why
why he's
it's
torn.
a good origin story, is because it's a curse to him, and it's the only way he can save his cousin.
Yeah. Either
That's
let her
good
die or
storytelling.
save her.
The reason that they give for not doing it is the reason that it's good.
Yeah.
What?
The
He was
screenwriters
really
are inept.
tortured by it. And he didn't view it as a good thing, and it took him a long time to get to a place where he could accept it and live with it. So to me, it didn't make sense for that guy to then willingly give this curse to somebody that he cares about. His cousin, who he really loves. It just seems right and it didn't seem right and true to the character, and it didn't make sense to me. That's because you are stupid. If that
Yeah.
didn't make sense to you, you are dumb. So I didn't want to do that. What a moron. This is the kind of person that you hire to write a TV show? This
Yep.
is basic storytelling. Anyone, if you could take this and you could do like a double placebo and just show two people 2 different stories, everyone is going to say, yeah, this one's better. It's tragic.
Yeah.
I didn't want to spend, she also says she didn't want to spend half an hour trying to explain the origin. It doesn't. Instead, you spent half an hour doing nothing.
Yep.
So that argument is bullcrap.
And also you have
It's like Wheel of Time all over again. They said we had to take this stuff out of the books because we didn't have time to fit everything in. Except they spent 4 episodes putting in stuff that wasn't in the books.
Yep. And they just replace it with this random alien that shows up, and you didn't do anything to explain that. So
And also the nature of making it an accident takes a lot of the pressure of the guilt off of Bruce. Yeah.
Yep.
It takes all of the drama out of the show.
Exactly.
Are you kidding me? We are literally saying the exact same thing. Except that you don't understand it.
Yeah. They think it
If
is
someone asked me
a
to
pro.
explain why the original origin story was a good story, I would literally say this.
Yes.
How on earth is she this misguided?
Yep.
Wow. That's exactly. I don't even have words anymore. Because she's saying the words that I would say.
Yeah.
What
It's
a
pretty
moron.
ridiculous.
But hold on. They said that this show is 100% women. It's written, directed, filmed, and like it's all women who are, because they wanted it to be an empowering thing. Except that this quote contradicts that. The head honchos at Marvel told me I couldn't do the mob hit. So Disney, did you hire women because you want females to tell their stories? Or did you hire women so you could check a box and you're still doing they're just doing everything you tell them?
Yeah.
Which one is it?
It sounds a lot like they hired these female writers to head off this show because they're female writers and not because they were qualified, because we know that they've been rejected for 3 screenwrites.
Clearly not qualified.
Yeah, it's unfortunate.
How is all of them being the same diverse? It's because
That's a good point. Good point.
The woke definition of diverse is not the actual definition of diverse. Diversity to woke people just means people who aren't white. And diversity in real life means a mix of everything.
Yeah.
They hired bad female writers and then gave them all the credit for a crap show. Yeah. This is not a good look. This show is bad. We haven't even talked. Episode 2 was garbage. That's the end of this article.
That's the end of it.
The only thing I had left was I just wanted to point out that we'll get right back to She-Hulk. Every time I see this still, it looks like a Karen, right? It looks like an angry white woman.
Yes, it does. Yeah, it looks like a short.
Especially if you're seeing it like at a distance. I can't
That's
get that
hilarious.
image. I cannot get it out of my head.
Oh my
Because the
God,
first time
I'm
I
not-
saw it, it was on my phone and it was blurry because it was still like loading the HD, right? And I was like, why do the orcs look like angry white women?
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I can't unsee that now.
Even this one is kind of similar too. Like the helmet is like it in the high detail. It looks so silly. Here it is. Look, this one's even worse. This looks like hair, right?
My goodness, I can't see anything else now.
It looks like hair coming down.
Yeah. Wow.
Oh, that one's a terrible picture. Look at that. It's a Karen. It's a Karen orc.
Yep.
Yeah. Why do they all have hats? Have you? And this one confuses me too. Just like a hood. Why are orcs wearing all this clothes? All this clothing? It's an angry female orc to fight the patriarchy. Yeah. I think they said they're going to have female orcs. I think that's confirmed too. But
well, maybe that's it.
Yeah, that's been bad takes. We've been talking for almost 3 hours. So let's quickly talk about how bad She-Hulk episode 2 was. And then we'll call it.
So my main thing is it's not as bad as episode 1.
It wasn't as offensive as episode 1.
Yes.
But as for writing,
the
It's way
dialogue
worse.
is so bad.
It's
so many.
It's exactly the same as what happened in Kenobi, where the characters are talking past each other.
Yes.
They're
Yes.
literally just there to deliver their line because they are writing this show backwards. They have a checklist of everything that needs to happen, and then they go into the scene and then they fill in the blanks.
Yeah.
That's not how you write dialogue scenes.
You're right.
You write dialogue scenes with this character enters the scene and has a purpose, the other character has a different purpose, and then you write the dialogue naturally.
Yeah, no, absolutely. The dialogue in this episode was just nonsensical. And there was that one scene, especially when she's walking into the legal offices and she keeps doing that fourth wall breaking thing where she just turns around and talks to the camera as she's going.
The first time it happened, I didn't
doesn't-
even notice that she was breaking the fourth wall.
Yeah,
I thought she was still talking to the boss.
It's so clunky. It doesn't make any sense. And then there was that line where she gives some like awkward bit of dialogue or something, and then she turns to the camera, is like, I'm going to be regretting that dialogue for the rest of my life or whatever. I'm like, yeah, because it didn't make any sense. Nothing you're saying makes sense. The only part that I liked, this is the first thing I've liked about the series, is I really liked Abomination. How the angle that they're going on here and his whole monologue were like, hey, I thought I was being the good guy. I was taking out a threat. I was doing that thing. So I thought that was an interesting angle to go.
I thought it was really bad acting because it was really obvious. It was obvious he was lying, and
well, of course he was lying. But
and the main character is a moron for believing him. It made her look stupid.
I just like the angle that they're going with. That's the first thing that I've liked about the show. But everything else is just so nonsensical. And
my favorite
way that
part,
people talk is people don't talk like that in real life.
No one talks that way.
Like when they go into the bar,
I see a pretty woman over there. I want to go talk at it.
I want to go talk to it.
I want to go talk to it.
Nobody talks like that. Like even if you're that degrading to women in real life, you don't say that.
Exactly. You don't say it out loud.
Verbally.
Even if you are that kind of douchebag who thinks that way, you don't say it in front of women. You'd say it in front of the boys.
Yeah, it's just so ridiculous.
Because,
everything is so over the top and
because you
nonsensical.
know that women talk and you want to bang them, so you don't want to act like a douche in front of them.
Exactly. You put on the charm, you know. But yeah, it's just everything is just so trite and ridiculous, over the top, nonsensical dialogue. It's just
my favorite part of the show.
terrible.
Episode 2, unironically, it was ironic. Episode 2 actually made me laugh in the scene where she's in the bar and she transforms out of Hulk and gets drunk and falls over on the floor. I genuinely laughed because it was funny to me to see such an unlikable character get hurt. I was like, ha ha! And I was like, oh, I was not supposed to laugh there. Also, that makes no sense. This came up in episode 1 that if they're the Hulk, they have a metabolism so they can get drunk without the hangover.
Right, and then as soon as she transforms back.
Well, in episode 1, she had a hangover, so first off, it contradicted itself. Second off, it also contradicts MCU canon because they did the same thing with Captain America. His metabolism is strong, and that doesn't mean he literally says, I can't get drunk. I'm trying to forget my best friend who just died, and I can't get drunk because of my metabolism. So with She-Hulk, apparently you can get drunk, but then you don't have to suffer the consequences, but then you do have to suffer the consequences. But then if you transform, you magically become drunk again because you didn't metabolize it at all. It literally makes no sense because you have dumb women writing your show who don't understand how things work.
Yeah. It was just nonsensical.
You are making women look bad. There are lots of smart women who could write this show better, and you are doing a disservice to your gender by writing this schlock.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but if you call me a misogynist because of that, you are stupid. I like female characters. I like female writers. These people in this show are not them.
Exactly. We just finished talking about Lord of the Rings. Arwen is amazing. Her journey in there, she's the epitome of
I had the biggest
Awesome
friggin' crush
female
on
characters.
Eowyn. On Eowyn as ideal woman, man.
Yeah. Both Eowyn and Arwen. They're
Yeah.
great characters in the Lord of the Rings.
Oh, and in
You
that
know?
same bar scene, she's making fun of her name. She-Hulk is such a
Yeah.
stupid name. It's like I can't even exist without being a derivative of the Hulk.
Because that's what you are.
That's exactly what you are.
Yeah.
A derivation of the Hulk. That's what you are, sister. You were literally made from his blood. That
Yeah.
doesn't mean you can't be a good character, but it does mean that you shouldn't be insufferable.
Yeah.
Oh, and then she insults all heroes, saying, anyone who would want to be a hero is either a billionaire, a narcissist, or an adult orphan. What is she even talking about when she says adult orphans? I
Peter
genuinely
Parker?
don't know. Who?
Peter Parker, I guess.
But he's not an
really
adult when he becomes an orphan. I'm legitimately confused. Also,
Yeah.
stop insulting heroes in your hero show.
Yeah. And that includes her uncle there too, right? That includes Bruce.
Yeah.
You got a hero in the family, and again, she's disparaging that. That's fine if you don't want to be a hero, but don't disparage heroes.
She's talking about him.
I know.
His dad beats his mom to death.
Yeah.
She's making fun of her is it cousin or
Her cousin,
uncle?
Yeah, sorry. I said uncle, but
what
it's cousin.
the hell? That is
Yeah.
awful. Believe it or not, there actually were strong female characters before 2016.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I don't get it.
I hate
don't
my
get it.
last name. It's like I can't even exist without being a derivative of my parents.
Yeah. That's a good one. Like it or hate it.
Yeah. Most adults eventually become orphans.
That's dark.
Oh,
But true. But yeah, I don't understand why you can't have a strong female character without tearing
Disparaging
down
men.
everyone else around them. All the male characters,
That's the
everything
thing.
that
That's the
happened
thing,
before.
David. You can have strong female characters that
Right.
don't disparage men.
But in modern
They
Hollywood,
don't
you
know
can't.
how to do that
That's true.
because these writers are idiots.
Yeah.
They were hired for quotas, not for accomplishments.
That's unfortunate. But then at the same time, you know, they pat themselves on the back and like, oh, we have such strong female characters. We're the first.
No, you don't.
The first strong female characters in cinema. And it's like, no, shut up. We already talked about Lord of the Rings.
Ugh.
Oh,
I know. Well,
Alien
even
series with Ripley.
yeah.
She was
Black
freaking awesome.
Panther came out and said, "Oh, this is the first time we're having a black superhero." Like, no, Blade was a thing, and Blade was awesome.
Yeah,
Like, they literally.
yeah.
This is the first black dwarf, or this is the first female dwarf we'll ever see on screen. No, have you seen Willow? Oh, sorry. And then she immediately corrects herself. No, sorry. This is the first female dwarf we've ever seen in a Tolkien adaptation. No, did you see The Hobbit?
Yeah.
Sorry, this is the first black dwarf who doesn't have facial hair that we've inserted into a Tolkien property, completely disrespecting his lore. Yes,
Bingo!
you'd be correct. You have to add so many qualifiers to be the first. You're not special. You are derivative.
Yeah. It's
Um,
unfortunate.
I didn't like the family at all. The family dinner time. I thought it was silly. It didn't add anything to the show. The dynamic with the dad was weird. He takes an opportunity to insult Hulk again. Say, "Oh, Hulk destroyed a city. He's a dum dum, and you're so smart." Like he should. I don't know.
Yeah.
He doesn't even like do a good job of being a dad in that scene, like cheering her up. should have been like, no, you have useful. Like, here, you can open all my pickle jars and like try and like crack jokes and cheer her up, which they kind of did at the end, in end credits, where she's just curing things for him. But like, I could have been a better dad in that scene.
I think I missed the end credits.
Also, how does the guy at her new work know the best
Bathroom for pooping?
How does he know the best girls' bathroom for pooping?
Yeah.
This guy is
so
a
dumb.
sicko pervert who likes to hang out in women's bathrooms and poop in their toilets. Why is his character the one that says that line? Also, it's not funny. So why does any character say that line? But if you do, why do you have a man tell a woman, hey, there's a girl's bathroom up on the 5th floor that's really good for pooping. I like to watch. It's the best place
in the wall.
It's the best place for pooping because there's a hole in the wall where I can see.
Yeah, that's.
Oh, Jacob, you're right. They don't have a crippled dwarf on screen yet, so there is an opportunity for another first.
Yep. I would, audition myself, except for I don't check any of the other boxes. So. Yeah.
Oh, I forgot about that line in Avatar: The Last Airbender. That's in season 1 where Sokka meets Sokka meets what's her name? It's also an S. Sokka meets Sokka. Is it Sokka and Sokka? Where he's training with
I don't remember.
He's training with the Kyoshi warriors. And he says, I should have treated you like a warrior rather than a woman. And she corrects him. She says, no, I'm a warrior, but I'm also a woman. It's not mutually exclusive.
Katara.
Yeah.
That's right.
No, that's
Sokka is the brother, and Katara is the sister.
Yeah, not the girl that he dates.
Oh, right, the other one.
Kyoshi warriors. It's Suki. That's
Suki, right?
Suki and Sokka. It was. I knew it was an S. I was right. I said it was an S. Okay, when she was the other question I had was when she was with the Abomination. What was with the 7 soulmates joke? They repeated it like 3 times. I met 7 soulmates who were my pen pals, and I want to go live with them.
Yeah, I don't
was it like a Mormon thing? Was it like that's literally I don't know.
Like
was he trying to say like he converted to being a Mormon in prison and now he's going to go marry 6 women? I don't know.
Yeah, that's weird.
And they kept bringing it up like it was funny, but it was just confusing.
Yeah, I don't know what they were going for on that.
I have 7 soulmates. I want to go live with them. And then we had the acknowledgement that they switched actors between the Incredible Hulk and the MCU by saying I was a completely different person then.
Yeah.
I'm literally different, and I hated it. So I didn't think it was clever. I didn't think it was funny. And especially since it's delivered by the inferior actor. Mark Ruffalo is not as good as
the other guy, James Norton.
Edward Norton.
Edward Norton, yes.
Edward Norton was far superior, and that movie was good. I liked it.
It was good. Now the original Hulk, that's a different story.
Ang Lee's Hulk. Yeah, that one's a little rough around the edges.
It is.
But I liked Edward Norton's Hulk. I thought it was a really good movie.
Yeah. Agreed.
And Mark Ruffalo was a bad replacement.
Yeah. Another thing that I'm not liking about the She-Hulk show is, they're disparaging men for for being objectifying women and for mansplaining and catcalling and stuff.
And she constantly objectifies men.
Exactly. She's constantly, and we haven't gotten to everything that they've shown in the trailers.
She's constantly talking about Steve Rogers'
ass.
Captain America's. She has his ass as her screen saver
on her phone,
or not a screensaver, her background or whatever on her phone. It opens up. It's got Captain America's ass.
Yep.
But God forbid a man at a bar find me attractive.
Yeah.
So.
Pretty ridiculous.
And then they contradict that by having like the people on the news say, "Oh, this girl, pretty fine, by the way." And they celebrate it. They're like, "Oh, she's so hot, she's so attractive," and then
but they're not being creeps about it. So they're just making comments about how good she looks. They're not trying to make advances, so it's different.
Got it.
I don't know. It's stupid.
I hate it.
Yeah,
Dumb show,
I'm not liking it.
Not looking forward to it.
But not looking forward to continuing with She-Hulk, and not looking forward to whatever the heck they do with Rings of Power. But
next week
reserve
we
a
have
little
to
bit
come back and talk about Rings of Power.
Yeah,
I really like this background though. It actually, if I
It's
squint my
very cool.
eyes, I kind of like, oh, I'm there. Except obviously the lighting is bad because I'm in a basement and the walls are green and it makes my face look red.
Yeah. I just now realized at the bottom.
Oh, sorry.
you've got
Sorry. That might have confused some of you. I'm not in the Shire.
What?
I painted my walls green. It makes the lighting really tough. David, actually, you need to come over and help me because like this looks bad.
Yeah.
This looks okay. I think this is the best look, but I can change this lighting too. But then that makes the green screen not work as well. If I do this, and then I have to see that.
Yeah. Well, what
It's
you
tough.
can do, you can change the lighting, or not the lighting, but you can go in use OBS, right?
Yeah.
So you change the exposure. I don't know why we're having this conversation live. You change the color levels or whatever, so you can key out everything, and then you do it the reverse back, so it looks good after you do the keying. So, anyways,
She-Hulk's bad.
She-Hulk is.
But I painted my room green in honor of the show. See?
Yeah.
So I've got a nice little curtain. It's pretty cool. I like my setup. It's fun.
Very nice.
Except I've got this. I put this in the wrong place before I realized I needed it. So now I have to turn the camera so it's like right there.
Yeah.
It's pretty good. But then
Very
this
good.
corner, this corner lights up more here because it's closer to the light. And so the corner doesn't key out as well because it's not the same. You see, it looks gray. I'm sure this conversation is riveting. Thanks for sticking around, guys.
Riveting. I was about to say, I just noticed on your awesome background, not your background, but the background of the meeting, you got images burned into the lava there. You got like Shadow Fox there, and the White Tree of Gondor on the right.
Yeah, you see cool. what I did is I typed into Google Lord of the Rings and I found a picture and then I hit save.
It's a very cool picture. I like it.
But you see what I was saying? How this corner is the last to disappear?
Yeah.
You gotta come over and help me fix it. I'm not
I'll
gonna
help you fix it, bro. I've had experience. All right.
Well, this has been a blast.
We've talked a long time.
I know.
This is a long show.
This is a sub. No, sub is. How do you say over 3 hours? Post 3 hours.
Post means after.
Sub means
super.
Under.
Super means over.
It's a suit. No, whatever. We talked for 3 hours.
I don't know. Yeah. Fun times.
Oh, I'm sorry. We're hypocrites. I'm sorry. Liz was objectifying Aragorn. I will not invite her back on the show. I am very sorry if I offended anyone by letting that misogynist pig on the show.
Our point is, it's okay to do it one way, but it's not okay the other way.
It's also okay to be attracted to someone. That's fine. That's how the species is propagated. Just don't do the rape thing. That's bad.
Yep.
So, you heard it
Wise
here
words.
first. You heard it here first. You can quote me on that one. Don't do the rape thing. That's bad. Oh, it's late,
All
and I
right.
still have to edit some videos for tomorrow morning. So we're gonna call it there. Yeah, it would be, you just need a straight panel for the green screen, except that my computer is literally shoved into the corner of my office because I don't have any other space to put it. So I don't have room for that. But thanks for the input. That would have been my first choice. Good night. Thanks for tuning in. Next week, we will have to talk about the Rings of Power. Episodes 1 and 2, because they're dropping 2 episodes in a row. We will continue to talk about She-Hulk because I'm forcing my friends to watch it. And I don't know, Corwin might eventually come on to talk about the House of the Dragon, but I don't want to force anyone on the show to watch a show with a maturity level beyond what they want to do. So thanks for tuning in. Oh, sorry. Someone saying something about rape. Hold on. I got to read this. Oh, David, this is you.
That's not me. That's DeBenster. I don't know what you're talking about.
When were you planning on doing a rape? Okay. Not letting my kids come to your house anymore. Yeah, we will suffer for you, so you don't have to watch. We'll keep you in the loop of how bad they are, and we're all sharing one account. So shh. That's your wife, by the. Don't say it.
Love you, babe.
Okay, bye. We'll see you next week. We got another small talk on Thursday where we're talking about student loan forgiveness. Whoa, and then and you know, get your friends to subscribe to my channel because I want to make some money. Bye, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. It's still